What do you do when you have more money than you can spend? Lu Ming typed the question to Doubao on his phone. Doubao replied, "Could you give me a rough figure? Millions? Tens of millions? Hundreds of millions?" Lu Ming, "I make 60 million yuan every single day." Doubao was stumped by this reply. There was a long pause before the response popped up. Send money to the street, side trees, the clouds in the sky, and the wind blowing past. If you still can't spend it all, hand it over to me. I'll gladly take on this burden for you. Friendly reminder, don't forget to pay taxes. Oh, my bad. You don't need to pay taxes for boasting. Lu Ming, I'm telling the truth. Doubao, Lu Ming was not exaggerating at all. After all, his bank card really did hold a cold, hard 60 million yuan balance right now. It all started 3 days earlier. Lu Ming was 25 years old. He had worked as a new media operator in Shanghai for 2.5 years. His monthly salary was 8,000 yuan. Rent cost 3,500, meals 2,000, transportation 500. After deducting social obligations and various small expenses, he could only save a few hundred yuan each month. Just a few hundred yuan. He could barely put any money away. Buying a house or getting married was out of the question. Even ordering takeout meant comparing platform subsidies. Tight finances were bearable, but his health was starting to fall apart. During last month's physical check, his blood pressure came back high. Systolic pressure 170, diastolic pressure 120. The doctor told him this was caused by long-term late nights and warned him to take it seriously. He stood 180 centimeters tall and weighed 140 kg. Such blood pressure at his age was a red flag. After careful consideration, Lu Ming decided to quit his job to save his health. He called his mother. "Mom, I'm coming home." His mother asked, "What for?" "I need to rest for a while." There was a short silence on the other end of the line. "All right then, come back home." Yinming County was a small county in southern Hunan, with a registered population of roughly 600,000. There was no high-speed rail station here. The nearest one was in a neighboring city. Lu Ming took a train to that city, then switched to a long-distance bus. After a bumpy ride, he arrived at the county bus station. The moment he stepped off the bus, he smelled soil mixed with plant life hanging in the air. He stood by the road, lost in thought for quite some time. The county only had 2 main streets, Central Road and Ingbin Road. Lines of 4 to 5-story old buildings stood on both sides. Storefronts housed print shops, hardware stores, nut roasting shops, Lanzhou noodle restaurants, Shaxian snack bars, and Huang Minji chicken restaurants. Some signs were new, others faded, their characters worn faint by time. For his first meal back home, his mom cooked 4 dishes: pork stewed with vermicelli, tomato scrambled with eggs, cold mixed cucumber, and a plate of peanuts. His dad poured out some local bulk liquor sold in plastic jugs, 15 yuan per jean. "Couldn't make it out there, huh?" his father asked. "Yep. It's fine if you can't. The sky won't fall." His dad poured a glass and pushed it toward him. "Go talk to your third uncle tomorrow. His auto repair shop is short-staffed." Older generations thought like that, as if not working every day amounted to some kind of failure, as if the world would collapse. Lu Ming drank the liquor and said nothing. The system appeared on the 3rd morning after he returned home. He was lying in bed scrolling short-form video platforms and came across a post titled, "Escaping Shanghai and Beijing to Return to My Hometown." He clicked in and read the comment section. Hundreds of messages filled it. Half the people called the blogger overly sentimental, while the other half wrote, "I want to go back too, but I can't." Browse. His phone screen suddenly went black. Golden text floated across the display. "County consumption gold system bound." Lu Ming thought his eyes were playing tricks. He rubbed them, but the words were still there. System description. Based on the county's registered resident population, the system will grant funds to the host at a 100-fold multiplier daily. Current registered population, 600,247. Today's allocated amount, 60,024,700 yuan. Funds have been credited to your account. Please check your balance. He sat frozen on the bed, fingers trembling as he opened his mobile banking app. A new string of numbers stared back at him. 60,024,700.00. 60,024,700 yuan. In the dead of night, at 2 o'clock in the morning when the streets were empty, he found an ATM and withdrew 100 yuan. Banknotes slid out of the dispenser. He held them up under street lamplight, turning them over again and again. The watermarks looked normal, the texture felt authentic. It was real. 60 million yuan. And he would get this sum every single day from now on. Had his life really turned around? He'd read countless web novels begging for a system, and now one had actually shown up. He spent a long time testing the limits of this money. He bought a carton of milk at a county supermarket, and the payment went through. He tried purchasing a video streaming membership on his phone. The transaction failed. He ordered a coat online to be delivered to Shanghai. Payment failed. He ordered a large portion Huangminji rice bowl with extra chicken drumsticks from a local county takeaway service. 18 yuan was deducted successfully. He attempted to transfer money to Alipay's Yue Bao. Failed. He tried buying funds. Failed. Any purchase for goods or services outside Yunmeng County was rejected outright. So long as the consumption happened within Yunmeng County's borders, both online and offline payments worked perfectly. Crossed the county boundary, and not a cent could be spent. The rules were crystal clear. This money could only be spent inside Yunmeng County. 60 million yuan, pouring in every day, to be spent entirely within a small county where Mishua Bingqing counted as its biggest brand. Or local prices like here. A bowl of beef noodles cost 8 yuan. A breakfast of plain spicy soup, fried dough sticks and tea, flavored boiled eggs cost 5 yuan total. For housing prices, the fancy townhouses along Central Road topped out at 4,000 yuan per square meter. Older, neighborhood walk-up apartments went for just over 3,000 yuan per square meter. Even a 120 square meter apartment at 4,000 per square meter only cost 480,000 yuan. With one day's income, he could buy 100 such apartments and fully renovate every single one. 100 apartments, every single day. Lu Ming sat on a bench beside the county river, watching elderly men fish beneath the bridge. The sun was warm without being scorching, and a gentle breeze blew. It was in this frame of mind that he sent Doubao that question. Notice, county population is the foundational metric. Larger population equals larger daily rewards. He already knew that rule. Population multiplied by 100. Beneath that line lay fainter gray text, nearly blending into the background. Special reminder. When Yunmeng County's permanent resident population exceeds 1 million, the county rise special reward will trigger. Full-scale system upgrades will activate at that time. 1 million people. Yunmeng County sat at roughly 600,000 now. 400,000 more people were needed. Lu Ming glanced toward the elderly fisherman by the river, then looked back at the moderately wide construction street behind him. An agricultural tricycle rumbled past carrying vegetables, trailing faint exhaust fumes. Convincing 400,000 people to move to this small southern Hunan County that didn't even have a high-speed rail station? Given the county's current conditions, that sounded wildly unrealistic. He pulled out his phone and reopened his chat history with Doubao. He typed, "I've thought about it. Clouds in the sky don't have payment QR codes. That plan won't work." Doubao replied instantly. "So you're planning to give it all directly to me?" Lu Ming typed, "No. I'm asking a serious question. If you had endless money you could only spend within one small county, what would you do?" Doubao, buy land, build factories, develop infrastructure, invest in local industries, or fund public welfare projects. Exactly what you can do depends on your capital volume and the county's economic structure. Are you writing a novel by any chance? Lu Ming stared at the reply and fell silent. Buy land, build factories, develop infrastructure. He lifted his gaze toward the not-so wide main street. Trees lining both sides stood bare, branched. Red lanterns hung up months before swayed crookedly in the wind. A small city of 600,000 residents. 60 million yuan dropped into his hands each day. Maybe he really could stir up some real change here. Doubao's advice was sensible. Buying land, building factories, and constructing infrastructure sounded grand and actionable. But these projects were nothing like buying cabbage at a market. You couldn't just hand over cash and walk away with results. Land acquisition required official approval. Factory construction demanded qualifications. Infrastructure projects meant dealing with multiple government departments. Right now, all Lu Ming had was money. Nothing else. No local connections, no experienced professional team, not even a registered business license. He needed a starting point. Sitting on the bench, he thought things through and decided he first needed to get a full picture of local consumption scenarios across the whole county. As an old saying goes, a region's prosperity shows in its service sector activity. Government reports full of dry GDP growth figures rarely paint the most intuitive picture of local economic conditions and ordinary people's disposable income. That truth often reveals itself through local entertainment and service industries. Money flows toward places people seek enjoyment. Lu Ming opened Mate1 on his phone. He typed bath/foot massage into the search bar, then tapped the filter button and sorted by highest price. The loading icon spun for 2 seconds before displaying a list of local businesses. At the top was Royal Golden Goblet Bath Center in the New Urban District. Lu Ming tapped into its homepage and scrolled through group by packages. 50, 8 yuan, 80, 8 yuan. The most expensive package was 190, 8 yuan. That was the absolute spending ceiling for foot massage services in Yunming County. Lu Ming stared at that number for a long moment. If he spent his full daily 60 million yuan income solely on foot massages, he would need 100,000 massage sessions per day. He scrolled down to read customer reviews. The therapist's technique is good, but the watermelon in the fruit platter wasn't very fresh. The environment is average, and the main hall smells of cigarette smoke, but I'll leave a good review anyway. I'm afraid the owner will go out of business. Highly recommend therapist number 8. Her massage hurt in all the right ways. We'll come back. Lu Ming closed Matewan and stood up. Books can only teach you so much. Real understanding comes from first-hand experience. He would go visit this benchmark local entertainment venue in person and find out exactly what that 198 yuan package offered. He hailed a taxi on the roadside. Yunming County was compact. The drive from the old town to the new district took a little over 10 minutes. Lu Ming watched storefronts pass by the window. Most shops had few customers. Several clothing stores blared loud pop music, their shop assistants sitting outside scrolling on their phones. When he arrived, the taxi meter read 7 yuan. Lu Ming paid the fare and stepped out of the vehicle. Royal Golden Goblet Bath Center was a 4-story building with reflective gold-tinted glass on its facade. The stone lions flanking the entrance looked worn from years of exposure. He pushed open the heavy glass door. The lobby was spacious, with leather sofas lined against the walls, their surfaces scuffed and shiny from heavy use. The receptionist girl was hunched over her phone watching short-form comedy videos, audio playing out loud. Lu Ming walked forward. "Hello." The girl looked up, momentarily surprised. She locked her phone and put on a professional smile. "Sir, would you like bathing services or foot massage?" "Foot massage. Are you alone? Do you have a preferred therapist?" "I'm alone. First time visiting." Lu Ming glanced at the price board on the wall. "Book the 198 yuan package." The receptionist tapped away on her keyboard. "All right, sir. Let's head up to the second floor." Lu Ming climbed the carpeted staircase. A staff member in a white, collared shirt greeted him and led him to a room at the end of the hallway. The room was roughly 20 square meters, furnished with 2 large electric massage beds. European-style floral wallpaper covered the walls, peeling at the corners. The wall-mounted television was off, its dark screen reflecting Lu Ming's silhouette. On the tea table sat the complimentary fruit platter, a few cherry tomatoes, 2 paper-thin slices of watermelon, and a small handful of sunflower seeds. "Please change into your clothes. Your therapist will arrive shortly." The attendant handed over disposable cotton bathware and stepped out. Lu Ming changed and lay down on the massage bed. Minutes later, there was a knock at the door. "Come in." The door swung open. A woman in pink therapist uniform walked in carrying a wooden foot-soaking basin. Lu Ming turned to look. She was slightly plump, with tightly permed curly hair. Crow's feet around her eyes showed through her foundation. She was definitely older than 45. She set the basin down, neatly spread out towels, and smiled toward Lu Ming. "Boss, the water might be hot. Test the temperature first." Lu Ming sat upright. "Ma'am, can I get a different therapist?" Her movements paused. She showed no anger, just nodded with accustomed resignation. "Sure, boss. I'll go get someone else for you." She picked up the basin and left. Lu Ming leaned back against the bed. 5 minutes passed before there was another knock. This time the woman who entered wore her hair in a simple ponytail with light makeup. She looked cleaner and fresher. She set down the basin without rushing to lay towels and looked straight at Lu Ming. "Boss, I'm number 8. I'm the most highly rated therapist working here." Lu Ming studied her for a moment. "How old are you?" he asked. 25, she replied plainly. "Come on. You don't look like someone born in 2001. She pouted slightly. "Not quite 40. Lu Ming sighed. She was probably pushing 37 or 38. "Fine, you'll do." He dipped his feet into the warm basin. Therapist number 8 pulled over a small stool and began kneading his calves, applying firm, heavy pressure. "Just got back from out of town?" she asked while working. "How could you tell?" "Locals don't come for foot massages in broad daylight, and they don't request therapist changes." Number 8 laughed softly. "You folks who've seen the big cities think everything here feels old-fashioned. But this is just how county town life is." Lu Ming kept the conversation going. "Aren't there any therapists in their 20s working here? Who in their 20s would stay in a place like this?" Number 8 shook her head. "Go work in southern factories, and you can earn 4,000 to 5,000 a month with board and lodging included." Working in beauty salons and bath centers in big cities pays far better than here. Why don't people like you leave? Lu Ming asked. We can't leave. She switched over to his other foot. We have elderly family and children to look after. For women our age, landing a 3,000 yuan a month job in the county that lets you take care of household responsibilities is already pretty good. She pressed hard against the Yongquan acupoint on the sole of his foot. Lu Ming winced from the sharp sensation. You stay up too late. Your kidney energy is weak, young man, number 8 commented. Lu Ming ignored the observation and kept asking questions. Is the local job market really this tough? I remember there used to be a textile mill on the east side and a machinery plant on the south side. They used to do pretty well. They closed down ages ago, number 8 said dismissively. Now in this county, aside from landing civil service or public institution posts, ordinary people struggle to find decent stable work. Everywhere you look are real estate agents, insurance salespeople, and food delivery riders. Listening to her complaints, Lu Ming's mind raced. Yinming County had 600,000 residents right now. 400,000 more people were needed. 400,000 people were not 400,000 ducks you could herd into town. They needed housing, jobs, income, schools, and medical services to survive. If he simply threw money around, handing cash to random passers-by on the street, he could certainly spend his daily allocation. But that would only spark inflation and social chaos. It would never keep people here. Once the free money novelty faded, everyone would leave again. The only way to attract new residents was to build industries and create large numbers of well-paid jobs. Lost in thought, Lu Ming grew drowsy and drifted off to sleep. Number 8 woke him up. Handsome, our session is finished. Would you like to extend for another hour? Lu Ming declined the extension. When he stepped outside the bath center, the sun hung low in the sky. Roads in the new district were wider, with 6-lane thoroughfares, though traffic was sparse. Electric scooters occasionally zipped along bicycle lanes. Instead of heading straight home, Lu Ming wandered along the new district commercial street. Quite a few people were out, yet most were elderly folks and women with young children. Young adults were rarely seen. He passed a real estate agency covered in property listings taped to the outer wall. He leaned in to read them. Unfinished elevator apartments in the new district averaged 3,800 yuan per square meter. Older neighborhood school district walk-up apartments averaged 3,200 yuan per square meter. Several villa listings sat at the top of the board, written on red paper. The priciest one was marked at 890,000 yuan. He walked the full length of the commercial street and back again, spending roughly 40 minutes. By the end, he had a clear picture of local conditions. Yinming County had experienced economic peaks long ago as a coal resource-based area. Once coal reserves ran out, however, the local economy failed to complete its transformation. This led to its present-day predicament. Local consumption patterns were extremely limited. Food and housing dominated spending. Clothing and transportation barely registered. The highest-end clothing brands available locally were Anta and Step. For transport, taxi fares started at 5 yuan, buses cost 1 yuan, and most residents rode electric scooters. There were no proper large-scale shopping malls. Wanjiafa Shopping Plaza in the new district had 3 floors. The ground floor housed a supermarket, the second floor sold clothing, and the third floor had dining outlets. Half the restaurant spaces on floor 3 sat empty, plastered with for lease notices. County town recreational activities boiled down to 3 things: playing mahjong, scrolling short video apps, and drinking alcohol. Growing tired from walking, Lu Ming sat down at a street-side noodle shop. He ordered a bowl of mutton-stewed noodles for 8 yuan. The steaming bowl arrived. The broth was genuine bone stock without artificial additives. Hand-pulled noodles had even thickness, and 7 or 8 decent-sized chunks of mutton sat in the bowl. He took a bite. Delicious. Truly delicious. Far better than fancy 20 yuan noodle bowls he had eaten in Shanghai. At the next table sat a middle-aged man in a gray jacket with messy hair. He ate a 5 yuan plain flavor stewed noodle bowl, a folded newspaper spread open on the table beside him. Boss, add a steamed bun, the middle-aged man called out. 1 yuan for the bun. Got it. Lu Ming ate his noodles while turning ideas over in his head. Even ignoring the system's million population reward objective, if he wanted to enjoy spending his money well, he had to improve this county. Still, without viable industries, everything was just empty talk. But Lu Ming was only a former new media operator. He knew nothing about building industries from scratch. He could write official account articles, edit layouts, cut videos, and run paid information flow advertising. He was skilled at analyzing user profiles for products. Building full-scale industrial production lines, that was far outside his expertise. Yet problems money can solve are not real problems. What he needed was to find knowledgeable people who understood industrial development. After finishing his meal, Lu Ming pulled out his phone and searched the browser for Yunming County Economic Development and Yunming County Industrial Structure. Most search results linked to government websites, filled with leader speeches and official work reports. After digging through pages, he found last year's government work report. The document stated, the county's total regional GDP reached 19.86 billion yuan, a year-on-year increase of 4.2%. The ratio of primary to secondary to tertiary industry output stood at 44 hours, 35 minutes, and 21 seconds. There were 74 enterprises above designated size in the county, among which only 12 generated annual output exceeding 100 million yuan. He kept scrolling down the document. Vigorously developed traditional industries, including food processing and garment manufacturing, actively foster emerging industries such as new materials and e-commerce. Fully promote high-quality development of county-level economy. Lots of bureaucratic phrasing with little tangible information. Two small useful takeaways emerged. First, Yunming County's core pillar industry was food processing. That made sense. Southern Hunan was a major grain-producing region, giving food processing natural raw material advantages. Second, out of 74 large-scale enterprises, merely 12 topped 100 million yuan annual output. When measured against the national top 100 counties, this figure is negligible. Yet in southern Hunan, it barely ranks moderately above average. All of this, however, belongs to the secondary industry with low added value. Even after full integration, the jobs it generates will barely cover employment needs within the county itself. To broaden revenue streams and attract talent, other approaches must be found. Lu Ming tucked his phone back into his pocket, paid his bill, and headed home. Passing the county government compound, its iron-barred gate stood open. A row of black sedans was parked inside, while several uniformed men chatted and smoked near the entrance. Signs hung above the gate read, CPC Yunming County Committee and Yunming County People's Government. Lu Ming stared at the signs for a few seconds before walking on. Now was not the time to go to the authorities. Showing up with nothing to show for himself would only make them think he was a fraud. He needed to produce tangible results first. Back home, his mother Wang Ailing was sorting kidney beans in the kitchen. Minger, your third uncle wants you to go over tomorrow. He really needs hands, and he'll pay you 3,500 a month. Mom, I'm not going for now. Then what exactly do you plan to do? Hanging around at home all day? Lu Ming thought for a moment. I have some money. I want to start something on my own. His mother's hands paused mid-sort with the beans. What money could you possibly have? Back in Shanghai, you only saved a few hundred each month. I made some returns from investments. Lu Ming fabricated an excuse. His mother clearly did not believe him. How much? Don't go throwing it all away on reckless ventures. It ought to be saved. You're at the right age. Just the other day, I was thinking of asking your third aunt to set you up on a blind date. Mom, leave it to me. I know what I'm doing. Wang Ailing was about to press further, but held her tongue. Still, Lu Ming could tell from how forcefully she handled the beans that she was displeased. By the way, Mom, I want to buy a car. Lu Ming truly intended to purchase one. If he was going to pursue investments, a car was essential. It would make getting around easier, and in this county town, many people judged by appearances. A decent car would save him a great deal of tedious explaining. A car. Wang Ailing looked at him. It is about time. Having a car at your age helps with dating, too. All right, I'll talk it over with your father. I think a Volkswagen would be solid. Your dad's Jetta has run for years without breaking down. Mom, I'm buying it myself. I'm just letting you know. Huh? Wang Ailing stared in surprise. Yeah, tomorrow I'll go to Uncle's place and ask him to give me some advice. What kind of car are you looking at? BBA, Lu Ming said after a brief pause. Those brands enjoyed widespread recognition. Though they drew plenty of mockery online, they carried considerable prestige in county-level towns. BBA? Wang Ailing asked. What cars are those? Anyway, spend carefully. Finding a wife these days is no easy task. Keep that in mind. I know. Lu Ming retreated to his bedroom. Lying in bed late at night, at 12 o'clock, Lu Ming opened his system panel. Golden text hovered quietly on the screen. Today's disbursement, 60,024,700 yuan transferred to account balance. 120,049,400 yuan. 2 days had passed, and he had spent less than 300 yuan in total. 120 million yuan had sat untouched in his bank card for 2 full days. He could not spend it. Not by a long shot. Early the next morning, Lu Ming rode his father's electric scooter east along Central Road. Mornings in Yunming County were worlds away from Shanghai. At 8 in Shanghai, subway passengers were packed so tightly they could almost be flattened. At 8 in Yunming County, the busiest people on the street were fried dough stick vendors and elderly residents out for strolls. Lu Ming stopped for a bowl of spicy pepper soup with fried dough crullers, costing 4 yuan in all. Full, he continued riding east. His third uncle Lu Jianjun's auto repair shop lay on the eastern edge of town, right beside the provincial highway leading out of the county. It was less a formal repair shop than a large yard with a tin sheet shelter. 5 or 6 vehicles sat waiting for repairs. A tin signboard stood at the gate, spray-painted with Jianjun Auto Repair in faded white characters on a red background, worn by wind and sun. Lu Ming parked the scooter at the gate and walked inside. A silver Wuling Hongguang was hoisted on a lift, chassis facing upward. A young man in blue work clothes crouched underneath tightening bolts, his hands black with grease. Tools, wrenches, sockets, jacks, lay scattered across the ground. "Where's your boss?" Lu Ming asked the young man. The youth poked his head out from under the car. Inside the back room, steering clear of the Wuling, Lu Ming pushed open the tin sheet door. The room was thick with cigarette smoke. A worn sofa and an office desk occupied the space. Piles of auto parts flyers and used disposable paper cups littered the desktop. Lu Jianjun sat on the sofa scrolling his phone and looked up upon seeing Lu Ming. "Well, look who's here." "Uncle," Lu Ming said, offering him a cigarette. "Where's Lu Yuan?" "Still asleep at home." Lu Yuan was Lu Ming's cousin, 1 year younger than him. Lu Ming nodded. "Uncle, I want to buy a car." Lu Jianjun glanced at him. "Buying a car? That's great news. What's your budget? Do you need me to chip in some money?" As the only son of his branch of the family, Lu Ming meant a lot to Lu Jianjun. "My budget? How much is a Mercedes-Benz E300 these days?" Lu Jianjun nearly dropped his cigarette. "Around 400,000? You want one of those?" "Yeah." "All right." Lu Jianjun fixed his gaze on Lu Ming. "How much money do you actually have?" "I've got enough. It's my first car, so I don't know much. I hoped you could give me some pointers." "Got it. But you'll have to go to the prefecture-level city for that." "The city? We don't have a Mercedes-Benz dealership here. Do you even know how many 4S shops we have in this county?" Lu Ming shook his head. 2.5. Lu Jianjun held up his fingers. 1 for Chang'an, 1 for BYD, and half for Cherry. The Cherry place changed owners 2 months ago and is still being renovated, so it only counts as half. Going to the city was out of the question. It would take him too far outside his scope. "What about second-hand ones?" Lu Ming asked. "There's a used car market north of town. Let's head over then." Lu Jianjun grabbed his car keys and clapped Lu Ming on the shoulder, sounding proud. "Let's go, nephew. You've really grown up and made something of yourself. I always had high hopes for you. All these years. Uncle, spare me that. You taught me to drink baijiu when I was 4, took me to entertainment venues when I was 6, brought me to karaoke bars at 8, and at 10, Lu Jianjun cut him off at once. All right, let's get moving." At the used car market north of the county seat, a heavy-set man in a leather jacket sat in the gatehouse picking his teeth with a toothpick. When he spotted Lu Jianjun's van pull in, he stood up at once with a broad smile. "Brother Jun, what a surprise. What brings you here today?" Lu Jianjun introduced Lu Ming. "This is my nephew. He's looking for a car." The heavy-set man turned toward Lu Ming, sizing him up from head to toe. "Young man, what are you after?" "Show me your best-condition Mercedes-Benz E300, Lu Jianjun told him. The man paused mid-toothpick, then tossed the toothpick onto the ground. "Sure, follow me." He led Lu Ming and Lu Jianjun deep into the lot. The market spanned barely 2 mu, an open-air space with bumpy concrete ground dotted with puddles left by recent rain. Rows of cars sat parked, most ranging from 50,000 to 100,000 yuan. They stopped at the back row. This one, Lu Ming looked up at a black Mercedes-Benz E300 parked in the corner. Its body was well washed, the paint glinting under sunlight. Lu Jianjun circled the vehicle, squatted to inspect the undercarriage, then climbed inside to test the seats. "How many kilometers?" 32,000. The man flipped through records on his phone. 2020 model, first owner car. The original owner was a building materials businessman from the city. He upgraded to a G-Class last year and sold this one off. "What's the price?" 238,000. "That's my best offer. Since Brother Jun brought you, I won't make much profit." Lu Jianjun climbed out and brushed off his hands. "This one has major repair history. Show us another." The man smiled awkwardly. "Brother Jun, this is our only E300. Lu Jianjun looked at Lu Ming. "Want to look at something else?" Lu Ming nodded. Lu Jianjun told the dealer, "Bring us good stock. Don't try to pull anything. Ideally original paint. At minimum, no major overhauls. Even replaced fenders are not acceptable." The man stared, glanced at Lu Ming for 2 seconds, and said, "Follow me." He guided them across the lot to a locked tin sheet shed. Pulling out a key ring, he unlocked the door. 3 cars sat inside: a white Porsche Cayenne, a dark green Range Rover, and furthest against the wall, a long wheelbase black sedan. Lu Ming's eyes locked onto that black car. He might not recognize the emblem, but its body length and wheel size put it in an entirely different league from the other two. "What car is that?" he pointed. The dealer glanced where Lu Ming pointed, his expression shifting. "A Maybach S680. Lu Jianjun's hand holding his cigarette froze. "You actually have one of these?" The dealer walked over and wiped down the front hood with a rag. "We acquired it earlier this year from a coal mine boss in Zhengzhou. He owned it for half a year and drove fewer than 1,000 kilometers. Check the odometer." He opened the door. The dashboard read 947 kilometers. Completely original paint, not a scratch. The boss only bought it for status. It sat mostly in his garage and rarely got driven. Then his business ran into trouble, and he needed quick cash, so he sold it cheap. Lu Jianjun ducked into the back seat and ran his hand over the leather upholstery. The material felt nothing like the E300's, soft, supple, slowly yielding under pressure. The rear cabin was spacious enough for someone to lie flat. The center armrest opened to reveal an in-car refrigerator. The overhead starry sky ceiling lit up, countless tiny lights resembling a planetarium. "I'll take this one," Lu Ming said. The instant the words left his mouth, Lu Jianjun grabbed his arm and hissed urgently, "Nephew, even if you sold your father and me together, we couldn't afford this car. 2,400,000. The dealer held up 2 fingers. Lu Jianjun tugged hard at Lu Ming's arm, trying to pull him away. Lu Ming planted his feet and did not budge. "Uncle, this car is perfect." Lu Jianjun stamped his foot, keeping his voice low. "Perfect? You couldn't scrape together the change from its price, even selling yourself. Come on, let's go look at that E300. I could even lend you some toward that." The dealer stood by, rag still in hand, watching the two men. Working in the used car trade, he had seen many young people who only came to admire luxury cars they could never buy. Lu Ming shook off Lu Jianjun's grip, stepped forward, and faced the dealer. "Can I pay by card?" The dealer was stunned. "Sir, we don't take deposits. Full payment only," he warned. "Full payment." Lu Ming pulled out his wallet, took out a debit card, and held it out between his fingers. "Swipe it." The dealer stared at the card, then at Lu Ming. He tossed the rag onto the hood and hurried toward the gatehouse. Lu Jianjun plucked at Lu Ming's sleeve. "Have you lost your mind? Where would you get this kind of money? Did you rob a bank?" Lu Ming patted his uncle's hand. "I made money trading Bitcoin." "What coin?" Lu Jianjun gaped. "What even is that? Is this some pyramid scheme?" "It's not a pyramid scheme. It's virtual currency. I bought some years ago and forgot about it. It surged recently, and I sold all of it." Lu Ming made up the story on the spot. Lu Jianjun understood little of the details, but one fact sank in. His nephew had struck it rich. Minutes later, the dealer sprinted back with a POS machine, sweat beading on his forehead. He inserted the card and typed in the amount, 2,400,000. He handed the machine to Lu Ming. Lu Ming entered his password and pressed confirm. The machine beeped and began printing a receipt. White paper rolled out with the faint whir of gears. The dealer ripped off the slip. Upon seeing transaction successful, he stood frozen. Had he really just sold a 2 million plus Maybach in a matter of minutes in this small county used car lot? Fully paid up? "Sir." He handed back the bank card and receipt respectfully, his tone already changed. "Please come inside for tea. I'll get all the paperwork sorted right away." Inside the gatehouse, the dealer rummaged out a half can of lapsing sochong, quickly brewed tea, and poured cups for Lu Ming and Lu Jianjun. "Sir, your tea." He set the paper cup before Lu Ming, then gave one to Lu Jianjun. "Brother Jun, why didn't you tell me you had such a successful nephew?" Lu Jianjun held his cup, his hands still trembling. He stared at Lu Ming and finally managed to speak. "You've really made a fortune?" Lu Ming sipped tea and nodded. "I earned some money. How much do you have to spend 2.5 million on a car?" Lu Jianjun muttered and pulled out his phone. "I need to call your father." Lu Ming pressed his hand down. "Uncle, not yet. We'll tell him at the right moment later." Lu Jianjun thought it over and put his phone away. "Fair enough. But you need to be more discreet. Wealth ought not to be flaunted." The dealer worked extremely fast. Using connections, he finished license plate and vehicle registration formalities in under 2 hours. Before Lu Ming left, the dealer handed over the car keys with both hands. "Sir, come to me anytime you need service for this car." Lu Ming took the keys and opened the driver's door. Lu Jianjun climbed into the passenger seat, moving carefully so as not to soil the fine leather upholstery. The engine started. The cabin was eerily quiet. Barely any vibration from the motor could be felt. Lu Ming shifted gears and gently pressed the accelerator. The car glided smoothly out of the used car market onto the provincial highway. Its solid chassis smoothed out most of the road's bumps. Sitting in the passenger seat, Lu Jianjun touched every surface he could reach, running his fingers over the real wood trim on the door panels. This car is unbelievably high-end. I've repaired cars my whole life, and this is my first time riding in something like this. Look at this leather, this sound system, incredible. Lu Ming held the steering wheel and watched the road ahead. Uncle, I plan to start a company in this county, he said. Lu Jianjun turned toward him. A company? What line of business? Investment, Lu Ming answered. I have capital on hand and want to build industries right here in the county. Lu Jianjun frowned. What is there worth investing in this place? All the young people have left, leaving mostly the elderly and vulnerable. You'd be better off taking your money to the prefecture-level city, the provincial capital, or even just depositing it in the bank for interest rather than pouring it down the drain here. I have my own plans. Lu Ming did not elaborate. Do you know of any whole office buildings available for rent? Large floor area, good location. Lu Jianjun sighed, knowing he could not dissuade his stubborn nephew. After thinking for a while, he said, in the new urban district, 2 intersections south of Wanjiafu Supermarket stands a building. A local real estate developer built it intending to make a commercial complex. Then his capital chain collapsed, and he fled town. The building sat unfinished. A couple years ago, the county government took possession, renovated it, and tried to run a business incubation park. But investment promotion failed, and it has stayed empty ever since. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming turned the steering wheel and headed for the new urban district. The car cruised along wide roads. Roughly 15 minutes later, the Maybach pulled up in front of the building. It stood 6 stories tall, clad in gray glass curtain walls for a modern appearance. The main entrance was locked, and a for lease notice with a phone number was stuck to the glass. A large square in front of the building was overgrown with weeds. Lu Ming stepped out and stood in the square observing the structure. It sat squarely along the main road of the new district. Each floor appeared to cover roughly 2,000 square meters, adding up to over 10,000 square meters across 6 stories. An enclosed vacant lot beside the building spanned around 1,000 square meters. Lu Ming knew at a glance this was exactly what he wanted. Lu Jianjun walked over and offered him a cigarette. Lu Ming waved it away. Bad feng shui for this place. Lu Jianjun lit his own and took a drag. I heard the original developer lost hundreds of millions gambling in Macau. Even after the county government took it over, nothing worked out. Renting this would cost a fortune every year. Lu Ming pulled out his phone and dialed the number printed on the notice. The phone rang for a long time before being answered. Hello? Who is this? A lazy female voice came through. Hello, I saw your leasing notice. I'm calling about this building. Perking up the instant she heard an inquiry, the woman said, Yes, it's for lease. Which floors do you want? What will you use it for? Lu Ming said, I'm not looking to rent. I'm calling to ask, is this entire building for sale? Silence stretched for several seconds on the other end of the line. For sale. Her voice rose noticeably. You want to buy this whole building? Yes, the entire property. I don't have authority for that. You need to speak with our management. Leave me your number, and I'll have someone call you back. Lu Ming gave his phone number and hung up. Lu Jianjun beside him forgot to take a drag from his cigarette. You want to buy this whole building? Yeah. Do you have any idea how much it costs? No, I'll find out. Lu Jianjun opened his mouth, then said nothing. They waited downstairs for about 20 minutes. Lu Ming circled the building and took several photos with his phone. The framework was solid reinforced concrete. The glass curtain walls bore dust, but no obvious damage. Through the ground floor glass, the lobby could be seen, with a ceiling height of at least 5 meters, plenty of room for a reception desk and lobby area. While he was taking photos, his phone rang. It was a local number. Hello, you're the one inquiring about the building? My surname is Zhao. I'm the property owner's agent. A middle-aged man spoke quickly. That's right. I'd like to learn details about this building. Hard to explain over the phone. Can we meet right now? I'm standing downstairs of it. Great. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Agent Zhao's 10 minutes was optimistic. Lu Ming waited about 25 minutes before a black Passat turned into the square and stopped. A man in his early 40s stepped out, wearing a dark polo shirt tucked into dress trousers with a keychain hanging from his waist. He spotted the Maybach parked on the square from far away and quickened his pace. Did you call about the property? He walked up, eyes darting between Lu Ming and the luxury sedan. Lu Ming held out his hand. Zhao Weiqiang, call me Lao Zhao. He shook hands with Lu Ming and nodded toward Lu Jianjun. Brother Jun, you're here too. Uncle, you two know each other? Lu Ming asked Lu Jianjun. We all move in local circles. Of course we know each other, Lu Jianjun replied. You two are. Zhao Weiqiang looked confused about their relationship. He's my nephew, Lu Ming. I've mentioned him before. Zhao Weiqiang nodded. Truly a promising young talent. He pulled a key off his key ring, unlocked the main entrance, and gestured them inside. Shall we look around? All three men stepped into the building. The ground floor lobby was even more spacious than it had looked from outside. Large light gray floor tiles lay underfoot, clean but dust-covered. In the middle stood a circular reception desk, now empty, its surface covered by a thin layer of dust. There were 2 elevators and 1 stairwell. Zhao Weiqiang led the way, showing them floor by floor. The 2nd through 5th floors shared a similar layout, partitioned into rooms of varying sizes. Some had glass dividers, others gypsum board walls. Each floor housed 2 large conference rooms originally fitted with projectors. The projectors were long gone, leaving only screw holes in the walls where mounting brackets had once been. The 6th floor was unlike the rest. The entire level had been opened up without any partitions, offering over 1,000 square meters of space with windows on 3 sides. This floor was meant to be a banquet hall. Zhao Weiqiang leaned against the window and said, that original owner had big ambitions. He wanted to build Yunming's premier commercial complex, dining and meetings upstairs, shopping and entertainment down below. But halfway through the project, he vanished. Lu Ming looked down through the 6th floor window. Weeds sprouted from gaps between the square's paving tiles, growing unchecked season after season. Who holds the property rights to this building now? Lu Ming asked. The County Finance Bureau, Zhao Weiqiang answered without hesitation. After the owner piled up massive debts and fled, the banks seized the building. It went up for auction twice with no takers, until the county government stepped in and took it over. They poured more than $4 million into basic renovations, hoping to turn it into a business incubation park. As you can see, not a single tenant moved in. What's the price? Lu Ming asked. Zhao Weiqiang paused to think. He pulled a pack of golden leaf cigarettes from his pocket, offering one to Lu Jianjun first, then to Lu Ming. The 3 men stood in the vast empty hall on the 6th floor and lit their cigarettes. I'll level with you, and Brother Jian is here, so we're all on the same page. Zhao Weiqiang exhaled a cloud of smoke. The county has been stuck with this building for ages. Annual expenses for property management, utilities and basic maintenance add up to more than 100,000, all covered by public funds. Leave it sitting, and it loses money. Tear it down, and the loss is even bigger. He fell silent for a moment and glanced at Lu Ming. You're the first person to call and ask about it this year. Lu Ming flicked cigarette ash. Give me your bottom line price. Zhao Weiqiang first held up 2 fingers, then added a third. 33 million? No. Zhao Weiqiang shook his head. 23 million. 23 million yuan. A 6-story building with over 12,000 square meters of office space, plus more than 1,000 square meters of square land. That worked out to less than 2,000 yuan per square meter. Lu Ming looked around. The interior was barely above bare-bones status. Water and electricity were connected, fire safety systems installed, yet walls remained plain white plaster and floors laid with basic floor tiles. Full-scale renovations would still be needed before it could be used for offices. Does that include the square plot? It does. Building and land together, 50-year property rights. Lu Ming ran some numbers in his head. 23 million for the building, plus another 12-odd million for renovations at 1,000 yuan per square meter. Can you go any lower? Zhao Weiqiang smiled. Brother, this is already a heavily discounted price. Go to the city and see what comparable office buildings are going for. I'm not comparing it to the city, Lu Ming said. I'm comparing it to Yunming County. This building has sat vacant for more than 2 years with 0 tenants, costing the county money every year. If I don't buy it, you keep bleeding cash. Zhao Weiqiang paused mid-drag on his cigarette and studied Lu Ming anew. The young man was in his 20s, dressed plainly, yet drove a fully paid-for Maybach. He was clearly not just browsing. What's your offer? 20 million flat. Zhao Weiqiang stubbed out his cigarette. I need to report this to my superiors. All right. Lu Ming also put out his cigarette. Do it as soon as you can. Understood, Mr. Lu. I'll go report right away. Just bear in mind that a 3 million yuan gap is no small sum. I'll fight for it, but don't get your hopes too high, Zhao Weiqiang said, hurrying out of the hall and leaving Lu Ming and Lu Jianjun behind. Lu Ming knew 3 million was no trivial amount. More important was sending a clear signal. The county's finances were tight. Local officials would welcome an investment from a native son returning home, yet he had no intention of being overcharged. Every yuan fed into his grand plans had to be spent wisely to maximize returns, never wasted on unnecessary premiums. Through these negotiations, he intended to show them he was serious and respected the rules. Ming, How much money have you actually made? Can you level with me? You can't just spend money like this, Lu Jianjun said, his tone heavy with worry. Uncle, I know what I'm doing. Mid-conversation, Zhao Weiqiang hurried back, a broad smile on his face. Gentlemen, good news. The leadership has agreed. He jogged over, beads of sweat glistening on his forehead, breathing hard. Leaning in close to Lu Ming, he lowered his voice. Mr. Lu, the higher-ups have given the green light. 20 million yuan, and the whole building plus the square plot are yours. Lu Jianjun's jaw dropped. He opened his mouth to speak, but held his tongue. Are you free this afternoon? Zhao Weiqiang offered another cigarette. Bureau leaders want to meet you to finalize the letter of intent. Such a large-scale state asset transfer carries a lot of weight for the county. Sure. Lu Ming took the cigarette without lighting it. What time? 3 o'clock, at the county government compound, second-floor meeting room of the Finance Bureau. Give me a call when you arrive. At noon, Lu Ming dropped Lu Jianjun back at his auto repair shop. On the ride over, old Lu had asked only one question. Are you really buying that half-finished building? After getting a firm confirmation, he stepped out of the car, slammed the door, sighed, and trundled back into the yard. At 2:30 in the afternoon, Lu Ming went home and changed into a dark collared short-sleeve shirt before driving to the county government. Access control at the Yunming County government compound was mostly for show. Normally, the gatekeeper would lean out to question every incoming outside vehicle. Today was different. A sleek black Maybach pulled up before the rising and fall barrier. The old gatekeeper glanced at the hood ornament through the glass, said nothing, and pressed the remote. The barrier lifted high. Lu Ming parked in a marked spot downstairs. No sooner had he stepped out than Zhao Weiqiang came rushing out of the main hall, grinning widely with long, quick strides. Right on time, Mr. Lu. The leaders are waiting upstairs. Lu Ming followed Zhao Weiqiang up to the second floor and stepped into the small meeting room. 3 men sat around the oval conference table. Seated in the middle was a man in his 50s with neatly combed hair and a white button-up shirt, Director Wang, head of the Finance Bureau. To his left sat a slightly younger, stout man with half-rimmed glasses, Deputy Director Lu, in charge of state-owned assets. On the right was a young man with a laptop, presumably the legal counsel or administrative clerk. Seeing Lu Ming enter, Director Wang stood and extended his hand. Mr. Lu, truly impressive for one so young. I'm Wang Weiguo. Director Wang, you're too kind. Lu Ming shook his hand. Deputy Director Lu exchanged a few pleasantries as everyone took their seats. The clerk promptly set down a glass of newly brewed Maojin tea, the tea leaves standing upright inside the cup. Scenes like this would once have made Lu Ming break out in a nervous sweat. As a new media operator, he spent most of his time typing behind a computer screen and used to such formal official settings. Now, he held over 120 million yuan in his accounts. His wealth kept growing by 60 million yuan each day. Money gave confidence. That saying rang perfectly true. He leaned back in his chair, picked up the cup, blew away floating tea leaves, and took a sip. Fine tea, he said, setting the cup down. Wang Weiguo smiled. Naturally, first picked Maojin from early spring. It speaks volumes about your character that you've struck it big out of town, yet choose to invest back home. Home is where the heart is. Having made some money elsewhere, I find solid ground right here in my hometown, Lu Ming replied. They traded polite pleasantries. Wang Weiguo probed Lu Ming's background, while Lu Ming referenced vague terms such as internet investments and early-stage crypto gains, concepts familiar sounding yet hard for county-level officials to pin down. After this back and forth, Wang Weiguo formed a clear impression. This young man commanded real, fast-earned capital. Mr. Lu, let's cut to the chase. Wang Weiguo leaned forward, folding his hands on the table. Xiao Zhao has briefed you fully on the building's condition. At 20 million yuan, the county is taking a loss. We sank nearly 10 million just acquiring and renovating it. Lu Ming listened quietly without responding. Wang Weiguo glanced at Deputy Director Lu, who cleared his throat and slid a printed document toward the center of the table. Mr. Lu, Director Wang fought hard to secure this price for you. Still, when transferring state-owned assets, the county has expectations. We want incoming businesses to genuinely drive local development. Deputy Director Lu adjusted his glasses and adopted a formal tone. Therefore, beyond the transfer agreement, we require 3 additional conditions. Lu Ming raised an eyebrow. Go ahead. First, within 1 year after your enterprise settles in, you must create no fewer than 100 local jobs, with Social Security contributions for all hires. This aligned perfectly with his own plans, an easy condition to meet. Second, your company registered in this county must pay all its taxes locally. No offshore tax avoidance or shell company book cooking. Lu Ming sipped his tea again. His funds would not function properly outside Yunmeng County, making tax evasion schemes impossible. This requirement also posed no real difficulty. The third condition, and the most critical one. Deputy Director Lu fixed his gaze on Lu Ming, his voice sharpening. Once your enterprise is operational, 30% of its annual net profit shall be set aside as special funding to support county-level infrastructure and economic development. Silence fell over the conference room. Wang Weiguo sipped from his thermos, watching Lu Ming out of the corner of his eye. Deputy Director Lu sat back, waiting for Lu Ming to bargain. The young legal clerk's fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to jot down objections. These three terms amounted to harsh demands. Especially the third, siphoning 30% of net profits, was almost unheard of in investment attraction. The county had its reasons. Selling the troubled building at 20 million yuan represented a steep discount. Without extra strings attached, the audit department might accuse officials of wasting state-owned assets at year-end reviews. Still, practical difficulties did not justify unfair terms. Lu Ming sat there, tapping his fingers lightly against the table as he mentally crunched numbers. 100 jobs at the county's average salary of 3,000 yuan per month would cost roughly 300,000 monthly, less than 4 million yuan a year. That amounted to a trivial fraction of his daily gains. Keeping tax revenue local made perfect sense. Director Lu. Lu Ming stopped tapping and lifted his head. Please share whatever concerns you may have, Deputy Director Lu said, ready with counterarguments. Lu Ming smiled. He leaned slightly forward, interlacing his fingers on the table, and met the two officials' scrutinizing gazes. Gentlemen, the first two conditions are reasonable and acceptable. However, I am strongly opposed to the third condition. Deputy Director Lu's brows drew together. He tapped his ballpoint pen against his notebook. Mr. Lu, that third clause is a hard rule for local infrastructure support. Think about how much the county has conceded selling you this building for 20 million. Is demanding 30% profit reinvestment really too much to ask? Lu Ming held his teacup briefly before setting it back on the table. Director Lu, you cannot look at it purely from that angle. He leaned back in his chair. I am a businessman, and businessmen prioritize returns. I could easily hire 1,000 people if you wanted, and every cent of our taxes will stay local. But forcing me to hand over 30% of net profit violates basic commercial logic. First, businesses need profits to fund further expansion. Siphoning away 30% would strangle my cash flow. Second, I am not opening a small shop here. I intend to invest far more than 20 million yuan. Wang Weiguo froze mid-motion, his thermos suspended in the air. That 20 million only covers the premises. Down the line, schools, hospitals, factories, road construction, all will require continuous capital infusions. Deputy Director Lu raised his hand to interject, but Lu Ming kept speaking without pause. Those infrastructure projects will generate little short-term profit. If you insist on taking 30% of profits, you might as well ask me for direct donations. Wang Weiguo sat down and Scrooge shut his thermos lid. Decades in officialdom had exposed him to countless entrepreneurs, many prone to empty boasting or hollow schemes. This young man behind him owned a 2 million yuan Maybach bought outright, yet spoke without ostentatious bravado. More importantly, that building remained a persistent headache. Yearly maintenance costs ate up public funds, and auditors repeatedly flagged it as wasted idle assets. If Lu Ming took this burden off their hands while creating local jobs, Wang Weiguo's annual work report would look excellent. Pushing the 30% profit clause too hard and scaring away this investor would be a costly misstep. Mr. Lu, you possess remarkable vision, Wang Weiguo said calmly. Since you show genuine commitment, the county must treat our native son fairly. Investment attraction is built on mutual benefit. He turned toward Deputy Director Lu. Lao Lu, remove the third condition. Stick to the first two. We should support young locals building their hometown instead of throwing unnecessary obstacles in their way. Deputy Director Lu adjusted his glasses and nodded. Very well, as you say, Director Wang. The young legal clerk quickly revised the contract on his laptop. Regarding capital payment, Wang Weiguo prompted. Full payment will be transferred immediately upon contract signing, Lu Ming replied crisply. Once government officials gave the go-ahead, bureaucracy moved surprisingly fast. By 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the revised transfer agreement lay before Lu Ming. He scanned it, confirming the first two clauses remained intact and the third had been deleted, then signed his name and pressed his fingerprint. Next came the payment. After receiving the Finance Bureau's public account information, Lu Ming pulled out his phone and opened mobile banking. He typed 20 million into the transfer amount field and tapped confirm. A crisp transfer successful notification echoed through the quiet meeting room. 2 minutes later, Deputy Director Liu answered a phone call from the finance section. He hung up, the corners of his eyes twitching, and nodded toward Wang Weigua. Director Wang, the full 20 million yuan payment has arrived. Wang Weigua broke into an unreserved smile. He strode over to Lu Ming, shook his hand firmly. Mr. Liu, that is decisive. Yinming County needs bold, capable young entrepreneurs like you. Come to me directly if you run into any difficulties locally. Zhao Weiqiang watched, swallowing hard. 20 million yuan transferred without a moment's hesitation. Where exactly had this young man gotten such resources? With payment completed, subsequent formalities proceeded without delay. The Housing and Urban Rural Development Bureau had already received notice and arranged priority processing at a special window. At 5:30, shortly before closing time, a deep red real estate ownership certificate was handed over to Lu Ming. When opened, the name, Lu Ming, was clearly printed in the rights holder column. 12,000 square meters of building plus 1,000 square meters of square land, all now belonged to him. Stepping out of the county government compound, the sun had already set, painting the sky crimson with sunset glow. Lu Ming tossed the red certificate onto the passenger seat and started his Maybach. Now that he owned the building and land, it was time to assemble his team. He could not burn through 60 million yuan per day working alone. He needed trustworthy, capable people, especially someone competent to manage finances. Lu Yuan. She was the daughter of Lu Jianjun, Lu Ming's uncle, 1 year younger than him. She had tagged along behind Lu Ming since childhood, sharp-witted and forthright. A graduate of a local second-tier university with a major in accounting, she had worked for 1 year at an accounting service firm in Zhengzhou. Dissatisfied with the low pay and heavy workload, she had resigned after the Spring Festival and returned home. Nowadays, she mostly stayed at home, occasionally helping out with bookkeeping at her father's auto repair shop. Lu Ming pulled up outside Jianjun Auto Repair. The rolling metal gate stood half-lifted, dim yellow lights spilling out from inside. He ducked underneath and stepped in. No one was in the yard. The iron door to the inner room stood open. He walked over and peeked inside. Lu Yuan sat on a worn sofa, noisily eating noodles from a large ceramic bowl. She wore an oversized old t-shirt, her hair loosely tied in a messy bun, with no makeup on her face and plastic slippers on her feet. Eating. Lu Ming pulled out a chair and sat down. Lu Yuan looked up, a strand of noodle hanging from her mouth before she slurped it down. Brother? What are you doing here? Dad said you went car shopping today. Did you get one? I did. Lu Ming fished out a cigarette, about to light it, only to meet Lu Yuan's sharp glare and put it away again. What did you end up with? A Santana or Jetta? Dad's taste only runs to beat up used cars anyway. Lu Yuan set down her bowl and wiped her mouth with a tissue. Maybach. Lu Yuan's hand froze mid-wipe. She crumpled the tissue and tossed it into the trash can, rolling her eyes. Why don't you say you bought a Boeing 747? Bragging doesn't incur taxes, does it? Lu Ming ignored the jab and shot back. What about you? Hanging around the repair shop all day? Planning to take over third uncle's business and spend your days changing other people's engine oil? What's wrong with changing engine oil? I earn my living with real skills. Lu Yuan pouted. That lousy bookkeeping firm in Zhengzhou paid me only 3,500 a month. I worked overtime till 8 every night, and the boss kept feeding us empty promises. Can I come back and take a break? I'll sit for the civil service exam once summer's over. Forget the civil service exam. Lu Ming pulled a red booklet out of the passenger seat and slapped it down on the table. Work with me. Lu Yuan eyed the red booklet suspiciously. What's this? Open it. Lu Yuan leaned over and flipped it open. Right holder, Lu Ming. Location, Xinqing Commercial Building, Middle Ingbin Road, Yunming County. Area, 12,450.5 square meters. She stared at the string of numbers for a full 30 seconds, then reached out and felt Lu Ming's forehead. No fever. Bro, where'd you get this fake certificate? It looks really convincing. Isn't this the county's unfinished derelict building? It was transferred to me this afternoon. Full payment of 20 million. Lu Ming tucked the booklet away. I'm setting up a company, and I need a finance director. Are you in? Lu Yuan looked at him as if he were crazy. Lu Ming, what got into you? Heartbreak in Shanghai? Or driven crazy by online loan debt collectors? 20 million? You couldn't scrape together 2 million even if you sold both your kidneys. I made some money trading crypto. What kind of crypto nets you hundreds of millions? Lu Yuan shot to her feet. Don't lie to me. Have you gotten mixed up in something illegal? Cross-border fraud? Money laundering? It's all legal. Lu Ming put his phone away. Clean money, all taxes paid. Now I want to make some investments here in the county. You majored in accounting, So you're perfect to manage my books. Are really? She stammered. Lu Ming looked at her. Are you in? What's the salary? The question popped out of Lu Yuan's mouth, pure accountant instinct. 50,000 a month. Full social insurance and housing fund, plus year, in bonuses. Lu Yuan set her bowl down hard on the table, splashing a few drops of soup. Say that again. How much? 50,000. Per month. Per month. Lu Yuan held his gaze for 10 full seconds, then felt his forehead once more. No fever. You already did that. Lu Yuan pulled her hand back, wiped it on her t-shirt, and sat back down on the sofa. Bro, do you remember what I earned at that bookkeeping job in Zhengzhou? 3,500. You told me. 3,500. She repeated the number. Up at 7 every morning. Off at 6 in the evening. 1 day off a week. At month, end, quarter, end, and year, end. Overtime ate up my weekends. 3,500. Take. Home pay after social insurance was only 3,100. And now you're offering 50,000 a month. Too little. Way too much. Lu Yuan slapped the sofa armrest. No accountant in the whole of Yunming County makes that much. At that crummy Zhengzhou firm, the finance director only made 12,000. Lu Ming paid no mind to her outburst. He pulled over a chair, sat backwards on it, and rested his arms across the backrest. Listen, first, you're my cousin. I know you inside out, and I trust you. Second, this is exactly your field. You can jump right in. How big is this thing you're building? Lu Yuan asked. Very big. Lu Yuan fell silent. She was no fool. She knew Lu Ming's personality growing up. Quiet, never one to boast. Nothing like their loud-mouthed third uncle. If anyone else had told her this, she would have shown them the door. But not Lu Ming. Her cousin, who had grown up alongside her, always kept his word. Is that certificate really genuine? She glanced toward the table again. I picked it up from the Housing Authority office this afternoon. You can verify it yourself. Lu Yuan pressed her lips together, rubbing her fingers back and forth over her knees. What if I mess up? If you can't hack it, we'll replace you. But you'll keep getting paid until you find another job. All right. Lu Yuan stood, carried her bowl to the sink, turned on the tap, and rinsed it. With her back to Lu Ming, she spoke in a low voice. When do I start? Tomorrow. Tomorrow? She spun around. Company registration, bank account opening, tax registration, you know the ropes better than I do. Handle all that tomorrow. Have you even thought of a company name? I have. What is it? Yunming Investment Company, Ltd. Lu Yuan turned off the tap, shook the water off her hands, and eyed him sideways. Registered capital? Let's start with 100 million. 100 million. Lu Yuan's voice nearly cracked. Registered capital of 100 million? Are you out of your mind? Do you realize that once the company is registered, you're liable for 100 million yuan obligation? I know. Subscription or fully paid, and I'll pay part of it up front. This building is worth 20 million, so it counts as fixed asset capital contribution. Lu Yuan said nothing this time. As an accountant, she understood perfectly what a fully paid and registered capital of 100 million entailed. It was not just a number typed into a government form. Real money had to flow into the capital verification account. How much capital do you actually have? Enough. Lu Yuan opened her mouth, but swallowed her follow-up question. She dragged a stool over and sat across from Lu Ming. She pulled a notebook and pen out of a drawer. Business scope. Lu Ming thought for a moment. Enterprise management consulting, real estate development and operation, commercial property management, construction, project contracting, catering services, cultural and entertainment services. List everything we can. Saves us from filing amendments later. Lu Yuan scribbled rapidly, filling most of a page. She looked up. Registered address? Xinqing Commercial Building, Middle Ingbin Road. That same building. It's my building, so it's my registered address. Lu Yuan circled the spot on her notes and closed the notebook. I'll be at the administration for market regulation at 8:30 tomorrow morning when they open. Give me a copy of your ID tonight. Also, we need to book an engraver for the official seal, finance seal, and legal representative seal in advance. Bank account opening requires an appointment. Usually it takes 2 or 3 days. Can we expedite it? I'll try. Lu Yuan gathered her things, then suddenly remembered something. What about your car? Is the Maybach real? It's parked out front. Lu Yuan slipped on her slippers and headed outside. Lu Ming followed. Beneath the street lamp outside the courtyard, the black Maybach sat quietly. Against the metal sign for Jianjun Auto Repair Shop, it looked wildly out of place. Lu Yuan circled the car. She knew little about cars, but she recognized the 3-pointed star emblem and the Maybach lettering on the trunk. How much is this car? 240 million. Lu Yuan stood behind the car, staring at the exhaust pipes for a long while without speaking. When she turned back, her expression had shifted. There are things I can't explain right now, Lu Ming said. But the money is clean, no questionable sources. If you don't trust me, you can walk away. We'll still be cousins, and we'll still have family dinners during the spring festival. Lu Ming held his gaze for a long moment. I trust you. Good. I'll take the job. What about you? I need to assemble a team. We can't run this whole company with just the two of us. We need a human resources manager, administration manager, secretary, drivers, and so on. Got it. Lu Yuan let her hands fall, took a deep breath, and tapped the Maybach's door panel. All right. Pick me up at 8 tomorrow morning. Drive this one. Why? When I go register the company at the government office, a Maybach out front will make the clerks work faster. Don't laugh. That's just how county towns work. This car is worth more than any letter of introduction. Lu Ming did not laugh. She was telling the truth. On the drive home, Lu Ming rolled down the window. Night wind flooded in, carrying the scent of farmland. Streetlights were spaced far apart. Stretches of road lay almost dark, only headlights cutting through the blackness. When he walked in, his father Lu Jiangwo was in the living room watching TV. Let the Bullets Fly was playing on CCTV 6. Lu Jiangwo glanced over. Third uncle called me. What did he say? He says you bought a 240,000 yuan car. Lu Ming thought to himself that the man had promised to keep quiet for now. Lu Jiangwo set the remote down on the coffee table. Did you really make that much money? I made some. How much is some? Enough to get by. Lu Jiangwo studied him for a long time. You've always been cautious, so I don't think you'd do anything stupid. But for something this big, you should have told me. I only ask one thing. Is the money clean? Don't worry, Dad. I never break the law. Lu Jiangwo turned the volume up a notch and kept watching the movie. On screen, Jiang Wen rode a white horse into Goose Town. Town business is tricky, Lu Jiangwo remarked without taking his eyes off the screen. Lots of undercurrents here. Lu Ming sat down at the other end of the sofa. I know. That's good. Neither spoke again. Father and son watched Jiang Wen stir up trouble in Goose Town. At 7:50 the next morning, Lu Ming pulled up outside Jianjun Auto Repair Shop in the Maybach. Lu Yuan was already waiting by the roadside. She bore no resemblance to the girl eating noodles in slippers the night before. Her white shirt was tucked into black dress trousers, her hair neatly tied back, and she wore light makeup. She opened the passenger side door, buckled her seatbelt, and pulled a document folder out of her shoulder bag. Copy of your ID, copy of the property, ownership certificate, the company articles of association I drafted last night, 2 printed copies of the business scope list. She flipped through the documents, checking each item. I also booked the seal engraver at Old Zhang Seal Engraving right across from the Market Regulation Bureau. Almost every official seal in this county comes from there. Lu Ming glanced at her. What time did you sleep? 3 a.m. Lu Yuan zipped the folder shut and leaned back against the seat, closing her eyes. 50,000 a month, bro. I've got to earn that pay. The car pulled onto Central Road. At 8:25, the Maybach pulled smoothly up to the gate of Yunming County Administration for Market Regulation. A handful of people were already waiting for the office to open, mostly small business owners applying for individual business licenses. They stood chatting on the steps, clutching plastic bags full of paperwork. Lu Yuan pushed open her door, tucked the folder under her arm, and walked toward the hall entrance. At 8:30 sharp, the doors opened. Lu Yuan stepped up to the first service window. Good morning. I'd like to file for company establishment registration. She opened the folder and laid her documents neatly on the counter. Behind the window sat a woman in her 30s with permed curls, sipping wolfberry tea from a thermos. She flipped through the papers, and her hand paused when she reached the registered capital section. Registered capital of 100 million? That's correct. Subscription or fully paid and initial paid in contribution of 20 million in the form of fixed asset investment. The property certificate copy is in the last page. One moment, let me review your materials. The clerk picked up the documents and walked to a back office. Within 5 minutes, a middle-aged man in glasses came out with her, holding the stack of papers. Hello, I'm the registration section chief. This is Yunming Investment Company, Limited. Yes. Your business scope covers quite a few categories. Some require pre-approval. Catering services need a food business license. Construction work requires relevant qualifications. I understand. Lu Yuan cut in. Register all the business scope items first. We will apply for the required permits before launching each corresponding business. That is fully compliant with regulations. The chief adjusted his glasses, reread the documents, and nodded. All materials are complete. With expedited processing, you can get your business license in 3 working days. Can we get it today? The chief hesitated, looking troubled. Issuing it today would bend the rules. Lu Yuan said nothing. She unlocked her phone and slid it across the counter. On the screen was a photo of Lu Ming shaking hands with Director Wang of the Finance Bureau, taken in a conference room. She spoke calmly. Chief, our firm is a key investment enterprise for the county. We finalized the project with Director Wang yesterday. Director Wang specifically asked that we finish administrative procedures quickly so investment progress won't be delayed. Could you see what you can do? The chief glanced at the photo, and his attitude softened noticeably. Very well. Come pick it up this afternoon. Once that was done, Lu Yuan hurried off to get the company seals made. Meanwhile, Lu Ming got busy with recruitment. He opened WeChat and composed a moment's post. Recruitment notice. Yunming Investment Company, Limited is hiring 1 administration manager, 1 human resources manager, 1 general manager secretary, 2 drivers. Work location, Yunming County. Salary, negotiable, above local market standards. Message me if interested. Attached was a front view photo of the 6-story building, sunlight glinting off its glass curtain walls. After posting, he opened Douyin. He registered a new account named Yunming Investment, using the building photo as his profile picture. He shot a 15-second video, panning the camera slowly from the building's base to its roof. The caption read, Yunming Investment Company, Limited seeking talented people. Monthly salary starting at 5,000, no upper limit. Local county, residents preferred. He hit publish and spent 100 yuan on local city promotion. Then he leaned back in his seat and waited. Response on moments was slower than expected. Most of his contacts were former colleagues and classmates in Shanghai. He had very few local connections in Yunming. In the first 20 minutes, there were only 3 likes, 2 from old Shanghai coworkers and 1 from his mother. 0 private messages. He was about to close the app when a WeChat message popped up. The profile picture was a side profile shot taken at Taiku Li in Chengdu. Lu Ming? Is that really you? No displayed nickname. Lu Ming tapped into the sender's moments. The most recent post, 3 days old, showed a coffee cup with location tag Zhengzhou Xinjiang Airport, and only 2 words, heading back. He scrolled down. The same young woman appeared in multiple photos. Long hair, wearing a clavicle-length necklace and slip dress at Chuanxi Road. Another photo was her graduation shot at Sichuan University, wearing a bachelor's gown and holding flowers, smiling. Lu Ming recognized her, Shenli, a classmate from high school who had sat 2 rows in front of him in the liberal arts class. Undisputedly the most beautiful girl in their grade. She had gone to Sichuan University in Chengdu. He could no longer remember her major. They had barely spoken after graduation, only occasional moments, feet acquaintances. He replied, Yes, it's me. Shenli replied right away. Are you back in Yunming? I saw your recruitment post. You started a company here. Just in the registration phase. Wow, impressive. What kind of company? Investment firm. There was roughly 1 minute of silence on the other end. Would you have time to meet up and chat? I just got back and have nothing on my hands. You're also back in Yunming? Yeah, arrived the day before yesterday. Lu Ming stared at the message, his finger hovering over the screen. A Sichuan University graduate who had built a career in Chengdu, suddenly returning to Yunming County? All right, where are you? Shun Li sent a location. Jinwang Supermarket entrance, Central Road, Old Town. Lu Ming started the engine and shifted gears. The Maybach pulled smoothly away from outside the Market Regulation Bureau and turned onto Central Road. 7 or 8 minutes later, he pulled over beside Jinwang Supermarket. A young woman stood on the supermarket steps. She wore a white t-shirt, jeans, canvas shoes, and carried a canvas backpack. Her hair hung loose, strands brushing her cheeks in the breeze. Lu Ming rolled down his window. Get in. Shenli looked up. Her eyes flicked briefly toward the car hood ornament, a flicker of surprise crossing her face, which quickly faded. She walked over with a gentle smile. Years had softened her high school innocence. Even in simple white t-shirt and jeans, she carried remarkable poise. Her plain face in sunlight was strikingly clean. Long time no see. Her voice was much the same as in high school, clear, with a slight upward lilt at the end of sentences. Lu Ming glanced at her in the rear view mirror. Where should we talk? He asked. Up to you. Have you eaten? No. Lu Ming thought for a moment and turned the steering wheel. Come on, let's get some stewed noodles. Shenli laughed softly from the back seat. Driving a Maybach to treat me to stewed noodles. Quite a unique sense of style, Lu Ming. She paused, her tone turning earnest as she met his eyes in the rear view mirror. I saw your recruitment notice. I'd like to apply for the Human Resources Manager position. The stewed noodle restaurant lay at the end of Central Road, a hole-in-the-wall eatery without even a signboard. Two plastic tables stood out front, their surfaces still damp and uncleaned. Lu Ming chose a seat inside. 2 bowls of mutton stewed noodles, 1 extra spicy, he called out to the owner. Then he turned to look at Shunli. Do you eat spicy food? I spent 4 years in Sichuan. What do you think? The noodles were served quickly. Shunli picked up her chopsticks, but did not start eating right away. She took a sip of the broth first. When did you get back? Lu Ming asked. The day before yesterday. I stayed home for 2 days, then saw the job posting you put out. Shunli set her chopsticks along the edge of her bowl. To be honest, I read it 3 times. I thought your account had been hacked. Why? Lu Ming, you sat behind me all through high school. You were as quiet as thin air. You ranked around 200 in total scores. You even failed math once. Lu Ming lifted his bowl and sipped the soup. So you're saying there's quite a contrast? No. Shunli waved her hands quickly. I mean, you've improved incredibly fast. What work did you do in Chengdu? Lu Ming posed the question first. Since she wanted to apply for the HR manager position, this meal counted as a semi-formal interview. I hold a bachelor's degree in human resource management from Sichuan University. After graduation, I worked as an HR BP at an internet company in Chengdu. At its peak, the company had 300 employees. I handled recruitment, performance management, and employee relations for 2 business divisions. I was there for 2.5 years. Why did you leave? Shunli lowered her head to stir her noodles, her movements pausing. The company downsized. First they cut business teams, then central office departments, and in the end, even the HR staff got laid off. I was in the second to last round of layoffs. Did you get severance pay? A token amount. A little over 40,000 yuan after tax. She spoke in a flat tone. Lu Ming nodded, not pressing for further details. Mass layoffs in the internet industry had been common these past few years, and there was no need to dig deeper. What happened after the layoff? Didn't you look for another job in Chengdu? Shunli's chopsticks froze. She swallowed the noodles in her mouth and wiped the corners of her lips with a paper napkin. I searched for 3 months. Sent more than 100 resumes. Interviewed at over a dozen companies. Either they drastically underpaid, or they were sketchy shell corporations. She lifted her gaze, her eyes steady and direct. Rent in Chengdu was 2,500 a month. Food cost 1,000. Add transportation and other expenses, MIN plus 1 severance ran out in just 3 months. I crunched the numbers. If I stayed, I only had 2 options. Borrow money to get by, or take jobs paying only 2 or 3,000. So you came back home. Yes. Lu Ming finished his last mouthful of noodles and pushed his bowl aside. You managed human resources for a 300-person company in Chengdu. Now you're back to work as HR manager for a newly registered shell company. Don't you feel overqualified? Shunli gave a faint smile. Lu Ming, do you know what the premise for feeling overqualified is? It's having other choices. If I still had options, I wouldn't be sitting here with you. Her words were refreshingly candid. Lu Ming leaned back in his chair. Let's talk salary. How much do you think you're worth? In Chengdu, my base monthly salary was 10,000 yuan. With performance bonuses and year-end payouts, I took home around 156,000 a year. I could accept 8,000 from you, but anything lower than that, 10,000. Shunli's hand trembled slightly as she held her water cup. You'll oversee both administration and human resources single-handedly. No subordinates for the time being. Recruitment, attendance tracking, payroll calculation, administrative procurement, all of it falls to you. Shunli stared at him for 2 seconds. Aren't you going to haggle? I don't have time for that. Lu Ming glanced at the time on his phone. Wasting my time haggling over 500 yuan, when I could have you use that energy to get real work done. Shunli set down her water cup. Actually, I have one more question. She hesitated briefly. Go ahead. What exactly is this company of yours going to do? An investment firm is a vague label that can cover all sorts of operations. But I won't get involved in real estate flipping or lending money. Lu Ming looked at her. Outside the window, an agricultural tricycle rumbled past, the roar of its diesel engine drowning out the noise inside. Once the noise faded, Lu Ming spoke. You spent 4 years in Chengdu. How does it feel being back? Shunli was caught off guard by a sudden shift in topic. What do you mean? She thought for a moment. It's like waking up to find time has stood still. The roads, the shops, even the old man selling candied hawthorns at the intersection are unchanged, just as they were when I was in high school. Exactly, Lu Ming said. Nothing has changed. Those who could leave have left. Those who remain are just marking time. This county has 600,000 people, yet there isn't a single decent shopping mall. Young people flee elsewhere, leaving behind the elderly and children. He paused. I want to change that. Shunli said nothing. The specific plans are still being worked out, but the direction is clear. First, develop local industries to create jobs. Then build supporting amenities to keep people here. Third, draw people back from outside, and even attract outsiders to settle here. Shinli sat in silence for a long while after hearing this. How much money will all of this take? A great deal. Do you have it? Yes. Shinli met his eyes. The restaurant lighting was dim, old fluorescent tubes buzzing, casting flickering light across Lu Ming's face. She had met many bosses. The CEO of her old Chengdu internet company had struck grand poses at financing conferences, yet secretly tried to shortchange employees on social insurance. She had seen no shortage of people spouting empty rhetoric. But Lu Ming was different. It was not because he drove a Maybach or owned an entire office building. It was that when he spoke, just as in high school, his expression remained neutral and his voice level. He sounded less like painting an ambitious vision and more like simply stating facts. All right. Shunli stood up and held out her hand. Mr. Lu, I look forward to working with you. Lu Ming shook her hand. Be at the 6-story glass facade building on Middle Ingbin Road in the new urban district at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Can you find it on your own? Yes. Oh, right. Lu Ming turned to leave, then paused and glanced back. Put together a recruitment plan as soon as you can. Assemble the team in the shortest possible time. Shinli nodded. After Lu Ming left, she pulled out her phone and called her mother. Mom, I found a job. There was a short pause on the other end of the line. Where? Right here in the county. That's wonderful. Close to home. Shinli hung up and slipped her phone into her pocket. In the 2 days since she had returned, blind dates were a constant refrain. It was as if for a young woman coming back to her hometown, the only viable path was to get married as soon as possible. She stepped back, leaned against the restaurant's rolling metal shutter, and looked up at the sky. The sky over Yunming County really was bluer than Chengdu's. At 3 in the afternoon, Lu Yuan called. The business license is ready. That was fast. Of course. You know how efficient I am. The official seal, financial seal, and legal representative seal are all engraved too. The bank account opening is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Great work. There's something else. Lu Yuan's tone turned hesitant. When I picked up the license, I ran into someone from the County Bureau of Natural Resources, surnamed Zhou. Somehow he heard you bought that building. He insisted on getting your phone number from me. What did he say? He said. Lu Yuan lowered her voice. He said there's a full 100-mu parcel of industrial land in Shilapu village. It has been listed for 2 years with no takers. He wanted to know if you might be interested. 100 mu of industrial land. Lu Ming gave no definite answer over the phone. He only said they would talk in person the next day and hung up. That night in his bedroom, he opened his laptop and looked up the location of Shilapu village. It lay southeast of the county seat, 7 kilometers from the urban area. Satellite imagery showed a vast stretch of yellow-brown bare ground adjacent to a provincial highway. To its north ran an irrigation canal, and beyond that stretched endless farmland. He zoomed in as far as the resolution allowed, making out that the land had been leveled. Scattered low houses, villagers' self-built dwellings, dotted the surrounding area. Road conditions were mediocre, a two-lane concrete road with no streetlights. Lu Ming then looked up public land listing records for Yunming County. The official website of the Bureau of Natural Resources was terribly outdated, built on a 10-year-old template. Pages loaded sluggishly, spitting out garbled code. After scrolling through several pages, he found a 2022 listing announcement. Industrial land in Shilapu village, 66,840 square meters, approximately 100.2 mu. Land use, industrial. Transfer term, 50 years. Starting price, 240,000 yuan per mu. 24,000 yuan per mu. 100 mu totaled 24 million yuan. 2 years on, nobody had placed a winning bid. 24 million yuan for 100 mu of land, yet it sat unsold in Yunming County. That told him everything. Local enterprises had no appetite for expansion. Local production capacity was shrinking across the board. Lu Ming closed his laptop, lay on his bed, and stared at the ceiling. At exactly midnight, his system panel refreshed. Today's allocated amount, 60,024,700 yuan credited to account. Account balance, 216,148,800 yuan. 4 days had passed, and he had barely spent a fraction. Over 216 million yuan sat idle in his bank account, growing by roughly 60 million yuan each day. At 8 o'clock the next morning, Lu Ming drove to the office building. Lu Yuan was already there, crouching behind the front desk, wiring electrical sockets. She wore the same white shirt and formal trousers as the day before, sleeves rolled up to her elbows, holding a roll of electrical tape. You know how to do electrical work? Lu Ming walked over. I learned from Douyin. Lu Yuan replied without looking up. Property management said they would send someone, but who knows how long that would take. I'm handling it myself. What about the bank account? Scheduled for 10:30 at the Rural Commercial Bank. Lu Yuan stood and brushed dust off her trousers. Look at this. She pulled a brown craft paper envelope from her shoulder bag and handed the documents inside to Lu Ming. The business license. Yunming Investment Company, Limited Legal Representative, Lu Ming. Registered capital, 100 million yuan. Address, Newtown Commercial Building, Middle Ingbin Road. Lu Ming glanced over it and slipped it back into the envelope. When is that Mr. Zhou coming? He said he'd be here this morning. I sent him this address. At 8:40, a silver-gray Volkswagen La Vida pulled into the building's plaza. The door opened, and a man in his early 40s stepped out. He wore a light blue short-sleeved button-up shirt and a Casio digital watch on his wrist. His hair was cropped short, his skin tanned. He walked leaning slightly forward, giving off an energetic, impatient air. Entering the lobby, his eyes swept across the empty ground floor space before landing on the Maybach car, key resting in a corner. Mr. Lu. The man hurried forward and extended his hand. Zhou Yan, Mineral Resources Section of the Bureau of Natural Resources. I spoke with your sister yesterday. Lu Ming shook his hand. Zhou Yan wasted no time on small talk. Once seated, he opened his phone photo album and held it out. These are photos of the Shilapu parcel, taken last September. Just over 100 mu, neatly shaped. Utility access has already been completed. The photos showed vast flattened yellow earth, marked by concrete boundary stakes. In the distance, freight trucks occasionally rumbled past on the provincial highway. Why has it sat listed for 2 years with no buyers? Lu Ming flipped through the photos. Zhou Yan rubbed his fingertips together. Several reasons. First, it's remote, far from the main county center, with limited supporting facilities. Second, there are no established industrial clusters nearby. Building a factory there would mean sourcing suppliers from far away, pushing up logistics costs. Third, he paused and glanced at Lu Ming. Go on. This plot was originally reserved for an outside enterprise. 3 years ago, the county government attracted investment from a pipe manufacturing firm out of Hebei that planned to build a factory here. The county leveled the land and partially built access roads. Then the company hit financial trouble. The project collapsed, and the land has lain unused ever since. Lu Ming handed his phone back. Let's go see the site. Right now? Right now. Zhou Yan was clearly pleased to hear that. He jumped to his feet and headed for the door, then turned back. Mr. Lu, should we take my car or mine? The three climbed into the Maybach. Lu Yuan sat in the front passenger seat, Zhou Yan in the back. Zhou Yan looked visibly stunned when he settled into the rear cabin. He surreptitiously brushed his palm over the leather upholstery, glanced up at the starry sky ceiling, swallowed hard, and said nothing. The car drove southeast along the provincial highway. Once past the urban core, the scenery shifted rapidly. Shops and multi-story buildings gave way to wheat fields and poplar groves. Turn left at the intersection ahead, Zhou Yan instructed from the back seat. They turned onto a narrower concrete road, and the ride grew bumpier. The Maybach's air suspension smoothed most vibrations, yet the frequent potholes could not be fully absorbed. 7 or 8 minutes later, the car pulled up before the open tract of land. Lu Ming got out. A strong wind was blowing. The parcel looked even larger in person than in photographs. What did 100 mu mean? Roughly 67,000 square meters, about the size of 10 standard football pitches. The ground was leveled, compacted yellow earth crunching underfoot. Concrete boundary stakes still stood at each corner, faded red cloth strips flapping against them in the wind. To the north lay the irrigation canal, shallow yet steadily flowing, its bottom visible. Reeds and weeds grew thick along its banks. The southern edge bordered the provincial highway, a 2-lane road where sand and cement trucks rumbled by regularly. To the east stood low brick houses with red-tiled roofs, their outer walls painted with slogans forbidding crop, straw burning. Lu Ming walked along the perimeter of the site. Lu Yuan followed behind, notebook open, sketching a rough map of the parcel. Zhou Yan stayed close at his heels, pointing out details. Power lines could be routed in from one side. Natural gas pipes ran under the provincial highway. A water tap connection sat beside the northern irrigation canal. Site leveling plus water, power and road access are all done. For natural gas service, the main pipeline is under the provincial highway. Extending it here would only require 300 meters of piping, so costs would be low, Zhou Yan explained thoroughly. Lu Ming squatted down, grabbed a handful of soil, and rubbed it between his fingers. Yellow, brown loam with moderate particle size, neither overly loose nor sticky. Was this land formerly farmland? It was. Villagers received compensation during land acquisition. All formalities are complete. Zhou Yin pulled a stack of photocopied documents from his briefcase. Land transfer contracts, environmental impact assessments, planning permits, everything is here. Lu Ming flipped through them, skipping dense legal clauses and checking only key figures. Floor, area ratio 1.5. Maximum building density 50%. Minimum green coverage 15%. The listed starting price is 24 million yuan. Zhou Yin nodded. No increase has been added. Frankly speaking, county leaders are open to negotiating the price as long as someone takes on the project. Lu Ming handed the documents back, stood up and brushed soil off his hands. He walked to the center of the parcel, turned slowly in a full circle, and surveyed the surroundings. The wind lifted the hem of his jacket. Far off wheat fields stretched green, and the faint gurgle of the irrigation canal drifted over. Standing in the middle of the plot, Lu Ming gazed past the provincial highway toward the faint outline of the county seat in the distance. He thought of the struggling Wanfu shopping plaza in the new urban district and the county's sparse, unexciting leisure offerings. Though seemingly remote, this land sat on a key thoroughfare leading into and out of the county. With proper development, vehicle traffic would bring foot traffic, and foot traffic would translate into economic activity. A modern large-scale commercial complex could completely reshape consumption patterns across Yunming County. It would also become a major source of new jobs and draw people to the area. With that thought, he lowered his gaze, resolve forming in his mind. Section Chief Zhou. He turned toward Zhou Yin. If I purchase this land, but instead of constructing a factory, I build a large shopping mall complex, how long would approval procedures take within your bureau? A shopping mall complex? Zhou Yin's facial muscles twitched visibly at those 5 words. He studied Lu Ming for several seconds, confirming that the wealthy young man behind the wheel of the Maybach was not joking. Zhou Yin rubbed the tip of his nose. Mr. Lu, that is quite a change of purpose. This parcel is zoned industrial land. Can it be rezoned? Lu Ming asked. It is possible. Zhou Yin sighed. But the procedures are extremely complicated. Converting industrial land to commercial use is known in the trade as industrial to commercial land conversion. First, a report must be submitted to the county government requesting adjustments to the overall land use plan and urban-rural development plan. The county lacks authority to approve those revisions. Applications must go to the municipal government and even be filed with the Provincial Department of Natural Resources. Lu Ming listened quietly without interrupting. Second, once planning revisions are approved, the government must reclaim the land and restart the public bidding, auction, and listing process. In other words, you cannot buy the land directly in its current state. You would need to place bids through the Public Transaction Center. Third, and most critical, you would have to pay a large supplementary land transfer fee. Commercial land pricing bears no comparison to industrial land pricing. The price gap is enormous. Getting all the signatures and approvals alone would wear anyone out. Lu Yuan's pen paused as she took notes. She looked up. How fast could this possibly go? Zhou Yin gave a bitter smile. Fast as possible? If every county-level department prioritizes your case and municipal leaders offer full support, it would still take a minimum of 8 months. Any bureaucratic hold-up could stretch it to a year, and a half or longer. What is more, Yunming County has no precedent for this kind of industrial to commercial conversion in the past decade. 8 months. Lu Ming mentally did the math. At 60 million yuan generated per day, 8 months amounted to 240 days, equaling 14.4 billion yuan. Billions upon billions would sit and used in his bank account as meaningless numbers. System upgrades would remain out of reach, and the county's population growth goals would never be realized. He could not afford to wait. Lu Ming walked back toward the Maybach and opened the driver's side door. Get in. We head back to town. Zhou Yin stood frozen on the spot, still clutching his documents. Mr. Lu, are you no longer interested in this land? You could build a factory, food, processing plants, garment manufacturing. The county offers subsidies for those industries. No factories. It is too slow, Lu Ming said as he settled behind the wheel and rolled down the window. Thank you for your time today, Section Chief Zhou. I will treat you to dinner sometime. The car started, made a U-turn kicking up dust, and drove onto the provincial highway. Zhou Yin watched the taillights recede, shook his head, and stuffed the documents back into his bag. Silence filled the car cabin. Brother, what exactly are you planning? Lu Yuan closed her notebook in the passenger seat. 20 million yuan for an office building, and now you want to build a shopping mall complex. Lu Ming asked, what is the largest shopping mall in the county right now? It's Jiafu Shopping Plaza, Lu Yuan pouted. The one in the Newtown district. But the place is basically on its last legs now. What makes you say that? Jiafu opened 5 years ago. Back then, it claimed to be Yunming's largest shopping mall. The owner is Wang Dafa, a local man who made his fortune in construction. It was thriving the first couple of years, but things have gone downhill lately. Online shopping has hit hard, plus lots of young people have left the county. These days, it's mostly elderly folks hanging around. The supermarket on the first floor survives only by selling discounted eggs. Clothing shops on the second floor barely get any customers, and half the dining outlets on the third floor have shut down. Right now, it's little more than a huge indoor spot for people to escape the heat. Lu Ming turned the steering wheel, and the Maybach made a right turn at the intersection, heading straight for the Newtown district. Let's go take a look. 10 minutes later, the car pulled up in the open, air parking lot outside Jiafu Shopping Plaza. The 3-story building's exterior was clad in red and white aluminum composite panels. After years of sun and rain, the red sections had faded to a dull orange. Several tubes on the LED sign above the main entrance were broken, turning the characters for Jiafu into an incomplete mess. Lu Ming and Lu Yuan pushed aside the heavy plastic curtain and walked inside. A mixed scent of cheap perfume, fried food, and cold air washed over them. The ground floor housed a large supermarket. Rows of promotional displays stood near the entrance. A crowd of elderly women clustered around a trolley piled with discounted toilet paper, rummaging through the stock. The pair stepped onto the escalator, which creaked and groaned as it moved. The second floor was the clothing zone. The layout was cramped, packed with tiny separate shops divided by glass partitions. The garments hanging on display had outdated styles, mostly garish bright reds and greens. Several shop owners sat on plastic stools outside their stores, cracking sunflower seeds and scrolling through short video platforms. The overlapping noise from their phone speakers filled the air. They did not even bother greeting Lu Ming and Lu Yuan as they walked past. See what I mean? Lu Yuan lowered her voice. These clothes are so old, fashioned, even my mom wouldn't wear them. The price tag says 280, but you could bargain them down to 50 and the owner would still sell. Lu Ming said nothing. His gaze swept across the vacant shop fronts. At least 1/3 of the units on the second floor were shuttered behind metal roller shutters, with A4 papers reading, "Shop available for rent," taped on them. They continued up to the third floor. Conditions there were even worse. The space had originally been planned for dining outlets and children's entertainment. The sizable indoor playground had already closed down, and a thick layer of dust covered the ball pit. More than half of the restaurants were shut, and the few that remained open had grimy, stained shop signs. Lu Ming stopped in front of a restaurant named Authentic Braised Chicken Rice. Only 2 tables inside had customers eating. The owner, a heavy-set man in his 30s, sat behind the cashier desk glued to his mobile game. "Why can't our jungler secure objectives? You just stand there watching them steal the dragon." The overweight man shouted angrily at his screen. Lu Ming walked in and took an empty table. The tabletop felt sticky to the touch. "Boss, 2 small portions of braised chicken, mild spicy," Lu Ming called out. The man did not lift his head. "Scan the code to order." WeChat and Alipay codes are on the corner of the table. Lu Yuan pulled out her phone and completed payment. She grabbed 2 paper tissues and vigorously wiped the tabletop. "We drove all the way here just for braised chicken rice." "Market research," Lu Ming replied, observing his surroundings. A dozen minutes later, the owner carried 2 clay pots over and set them on the table, splashing a few drops of broth onto the surface. He turned to leave, but Lu Ming called him back. "Business has been quiet lately, hasn't it?" Lu Ming held out a cigarette. Spotting the branding on the cigarette pack, the owner's attitude softened slightly. He took it and tucked it behind his ear. "Quiet's an understatement. I'm practically going under. I barely sell 30 servings a day, not enough to cover the rent." "Is the rent steep?" $80,000 a year. It was manageable a couple years back, but hardly anyone comes to Jiafu these past months. Just look at the shops opposite me." The man gestured toward the shuttered premises. "All of them pulled out last month. They abandoned their deposits and hauled out all their equipment overnight." "Doesn't the mall management step in?" Lu Ming asked. "Step in with what?" The man let out a bitter laugh, glanced around cautiously, and lowered his voice. "Wang Dafa's drowning in high-interest loans. Word is he started a real estate project in the city that stalled out, completely cutting off his capital flow. The mall hasn't paid its cleaning staff for 3 months now, and supermarket suppliers show up every day demanding payment." "Do you have Wang Dafa's phone number?" "There's no way I'd have that. Us regular shopkeepers can't get hold of a big boss like him." The owner shook his head, then nodded toward the lower floor. But manager Lu from the supermarket downstairs is Wang Dafa's brother-in-law. He definitely has it. Suppliers always corner him in his office when they come chasing debts. Lu Ming nodded and pulled out his phone, transferring 500 yuan directly to the restaurant owner. Thanks for the information. Buy yourself a pack of cigarettes with the extra. Staring at the payment notification popping up on his screen, the man's eyes widened. He quickly waved his hands. I can't take this. Are you here to collect money from him too? Lu Ming smiled. I'm here to bring him money. After leaving the third floor, Lu Ming headed straight for the ground floor supermarket. The supermarket spanned a considerable area, no less than 2,000 square meters. Shelves were lined up neatly, but on closer inspection, many held sparse stock, with empty gaps filled temporarily by cardboard boxes and promotional displays. 2 refrigerated cabinets in the fresh produce section were switched off. The vegetables on display had wilted, clearly left over from the previous day. 4 checkout counters were installed, yet only 2 were staffed. One cashier slouched over the counter napping, while the other watched costume drama on her phone at low volume. Faint background music drifted across the space. Lu Ming walked over to the checkout area and checked the directional sign on the wall. An arrow marked office area pointed toward the far end of a passage at the back of the supermarket. He headed down the corridor. Glancing through the warehouse doorway as he passed, he saw the space was nearly empty. A worker sat on a forklift eating instant noodles. He lifted his chin briefly in greeting as Lu Ming walked by. At the end of the passage stood a gray fire door with a crumpled A4 notice taped crookedly to it. Office. No unauthorized entry. Lu Ming pushed the door open. The office was around 20 square meters, furnished with 3 desks. Behind the largest desk by the window sat a man in his early 40s, round-faced with a receding hairline. He wore a crumpled blue polo shirt embroidered with the Wan Jiafu logo. Desk space was cluttered with invoices and account books, alongside several empty cigarette packs and a glass ashtray overflowing with butts. The moment the door opened, the man shot abruptly to his feet, his expression turning tense. I've told you all repeatedly, payment for goods will come next month. He trailed off when he saw Lu Ming, stunned. He did not recognize the visitor. Who are you looking for? The man eyed Lu Ming warily. Manager Lu? And you are? Lu Ming, from Yunming Investment Company, Ltd. Lu Ming stepped inside and pulled out a chair to sit down. I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes. Manager Lu remained standing behind his desk, leaning his palms on the surface. Yunming Investment? Never heard of it. Are you a supplier? No. Here to chase debts? Not that either. Manager Lu visibly relaxed, his shoulders slumping slightly. He sank back into his chair, rummaged in the ashtray for a whole cigarette without success, then opened a drawer and pulled out a crumpled pack of Lacoon cigarettes. So what brings you here? Lu Ming took out his own cigarettes and offered one over. Manager Lu accepted it, glanced at the brand, and lit it quickly. I want to meet Wang Dafa. Manager Lu paused mid-inhale. What do you want with him? Business. He's not seeing anyone. Manager Lu exhaled smoke and shook his head. He refuses to meet anyone who comes looking for him lately and barely answers calls. If you want to rent retail space in Wanjiafu, you can deal directly with me. There are plenty of vacancies right now, and we can negotiate favorable rates. I'm not looking to rent a shop. Lu Ming crossed one leg over the other, tapping his knee with a finger. I intend to acquire Wanjiafu in full. Silence fell over the office for 2 seconds. The cigarette almost slipped from Manager Lu's mouth. Acquire it. A full acquisition. The building, the land, and the brand, all together. Manager Lu studied Lu Ming for a long time, his gaze traveling from his face to his clothes and then his shoes. Lu Ming was not dressed ostentatiously, but the quality of the fabric was obvious. Brother, I don't mean to belittle you, but how old are you? 25. You're 25 and looking to buy an entire shopping mall? Do you have any idea how much Wanjiafu is worth? You tell me the figure. Manager Lu crushed his cigarette, but in the ashtray, and stared sideways at Lu Ming. When my brother-in-law built this mall, he poured more than 40 million into the land and construction alone. Another 10 million went into renovations and equipment. We're talking 50 to 60 million for this property. You want to buy it? Lu Ming said nothing. He opened a photo on his phone and turned the screen toward Manager Lu. The picture showed the new town commercial building, its glass facade reflecting the blue sky. I bought this building yesterday, paid 2 million in full. He swiped to the next photo, a copy of the property ownership certificate with Lu Ming's name listed as the owner. Manager Lu leaned forward to look. His mouth fell slightly open, and he did not notice ash falling onto the desk. That unfinished commercial complex in the new town, the startup park? It's no longer a startup park. It's my office building now. Lu Ming put his phone away. Manager Lu, I'll be frank with you. You know better than anyone what shape Wanjiafu is in. Half the third-floor dining outlets are closed. Over a third of the second-floor shops stand vacant. Suppliers line up demanding payment, and cleaning staff haven't received wages for 3 months. Your brother-in-law's capital chain has collapsed. This mall can't survive much longer. Instead of letting it decay completely, it makes sense to strike a fair deal while there's still someone willing to take it over. Manager Lu stayed quiet. He took several deep drags on his cigarette until the tip glowed bright red. I can't make this decision. I know. That's why I need Wang Dafa's phone number. Manager Lu hesitated for a long time. He picked up his mobile phone, scrolled through contacts, then set it down again. How can I be sure you're trustworthy? You can check with the county government, Lu Ming said. Director Wang from the Finance Bureau knows me. After another stretch of hesitation, Manager Lu sighed. He scribbled a string of numbers on a notepad sheet, tore it off, and pushed it toward Lu Ming. This is my brother-in-law's private number. But I need to warn you, he's in a terrible mood these days and hangs up on people without hesitation. Don't blame me if you get an earful. Thanks. Lu Ming folded the paper and slipped it into his pocket. As he walked toward the supermarket entrance, his phone vibrated. A WeChat message from Shun Li popped up. Mr. Lu, I've arrived at the office, but no one is here. Lu Ming typed a reply as he walked. The key is hidden in the flower bed by the main gate. Take a look at the overall layout and draft a plan for functional zones. I'll head back once I finish my business. After sending the message, he saved Wang Dafa's number in his contacts. He did not call immediately. He climbed into the Maybach, closed the door, and leaned the seat back. The air conditioning hummed quietly, creating a peaceful space. Lu Yuan emerged from Wanjiafu and pulled open the passenger door. She carried a bag of discounted eggs. 3.9 yuan a jean. It'd be a waste not to buy some. She set the eggs by her feet and fastened her seatbelt. So, did you get anything useful out of the talk? I've got Wang Dafa's number. What next? Next I need to work out a reasonable offer price. Lu Ming started the engine. Lu Yuan rested her chin in one hand. Brother, why are you so set on buying this shopping mall? It doesn't look like it can turn a profit at all. Lu Ming smiled. Does Fat Donglai turn a profit? Of course it does. Lu Yuan's eyes widened instantly. You aren't planning to turn Wanjiafu into another Fat Donglai, are you? Lu Ming gripped the steering wheel, his gaze fixed calmly on the road ahead, and spoke quietly. Fat Donglai is an excellent model, but Yunming County deserves a miracle of its own. The Maybach turned onto Ingbin Road, heading toward the new town commercial building. Lu Ming rested his right hand on the wheel, twisting the slip of paper with Wang Dafa's phone number between the fingers of his left hand. He needed to think carefully about how to pitch the purchase to a stressed, overwhelmed business owner. Make the offer too high, and he would be overpaying. Make it too low, and Wang Dafa would hang up instantly. He had to find a figure that stung, yet left Wang Dafa with no viable choice but to agree. He tucked the paper back into his pocket. There was no rush. First, he would return to the new office and see what functional zone layout Shun Li had come up with. The Maybach pulled into the building plaza. When Lu Ming stepped into the ground floor lobby, he almost thought he had walked into the wrong place. The floor had been mopped thoroughly. It was not a quick once-over. The gray tiles had been cleaned repeatedly, glistening faintly with dampness. Dust had been wiped off the curved reception counter. A glass vase, seemingly found somewhere nearby, sat on top, filled with wild flowers picked from the roadside, white and yellow blooms arranged messily yet pleasantly. Shun Li stood at the top of the second-floor staircase, holding a marker pen and masking tape. Lu Yuan spotted her at once. Wow, Shun Li, is that really you? Shun Li turned around. Lu Yuan, what are you doing here? Lu Ming blinked. You two know each other? Lu Yuan grinned playfully. Some girls' secrets are none of your business. Shun Li smiled. Lu Ming, Lu Yuan and I have known each other since high school. Lu Ming nodded. Saves me the trouble of introducing you. Shun Li tilted her chin toward the upper level. Come up and take a look. Lu Ming climbed to the second floor. Strips of masking tape were stuck all over the glass partitions along the corridor, each labeled neatly with marker pen. General Manager's Office, Finance Department, Human Resources Administration, Meeting Room A, Meeting Room B, Reception Lounge, Break Area, Archives. Lu Ming walked along the corridor to inspect the layout. Shun Li followed beside him and explained as they went. The second floor will serve as the core office zone. The 3 south-facing rooms will be combined to form your general manager's office, complete with a private washroom and rest space. The 2 adjacent rooms will be the Finance Department and Human Resources Administration respectively. We'll keep the 2 existing meeting rooms and purchase new projection equipment. The far end of the corridor will become an open break area, somewhere staff can unwind once the team grows. What about the 3rd floor? I suggest turning it into a multi-purpose zone. If business expands later, it can be converted into extra office space or a training center. We'll seal off the 4th and 5th floors for now, opening them only once staffing numbers increase. The large open hall on the 6th floor should remain untouched. We can use it for large conferences or investment promotion events in the future. Lu Ming nodded in approval. Lu Yuan trailed behind them. She admired the clear plan silently, but paused beside the label for the finance department and spoke up. This room faces north. Heating costs in winter will be substantial. Shenli turned and smiled as she explained. Finance work demands absolute peace and focus. North-facing rooms offer steady lighting that prevents drowsiness, making them ideal for reconciling accounts. As for heating, we can upgrade thermal insulation during renovations or install more efficient heating units. We can adjust the budget accordingly. Lu Yuan fell silent, unable to argue. When a professional lays out reasoning like that, even being assigned the colder room feels entirely logical. Lu Ming stepped into the space marked as the general manager's office. Combining the 3 rooms created a space of over 80 square meters with excellent natural light, overlooking Ingbin Road and residential buildings in the distance. The gray floor tiles and plain white walls were still bare, empty, and unfinished. I've drawn up a list of required furniture, office equipment, and network wiring. Shenli pulled a folded A4 sheet from her pocket and handed it over. Lu Ming scanned the document. The list was extraordinarily detailed, covering office desk models, printer ink consumption estimates, even the brand of hand dryers to install in the washroom. A handwritten note sat at the bottom. Prioritise local suppliers for all items. Estimated total cost, 340,000 to 420,000 yuan. What time did you arrive this morning? Lu Ming asked. 9 o'clock. You finished all this work in 3 hours? Shenli slipped the marker into her pocket. When I worked as an HRBP, my company relocated 3 times. Administrative staff always roped me in to help. I've run network cables, moved servers, and even drilled holes with an impact driver. This is nothing. Lu Ming folded the list and put it away, walking over to the window with his back to the other 2. You 2 will split the renovation work, he said. Shenli takes charge of design plans and procurement. Lu Yuan handles payments and account checks. The maximum budget is 500,000 yuan, and we aim to source everything locally. I'm giving you 10 days to finish. 10 days? Lu Yuan exclaimed. My neighbor spent half a month just remodeling 1 bathroom. Hire 5 renovation teams to work simultaneously. Lu Yuan rolled her eyes, set the bag of eggs down on a surface, and pulled out a notebook to start calculating costs. Shenli wasted no time agreeing, then walked toward the stairs while dialing a number. Her voice drifted back faintly. Hello, is this the county building materials market? I'd like to inquire about wholesale prices for office furniture. The lobby fell quiet. Lu Ming pulled the slip of paper out of his pocket. 11 digits written in blue ballpoint pen. Manager Lu's handwriting was messy, yet every number was legible. He dialed the number. The phone rang 6 times. Who's this? The voice on the other end was hoarse, rough from constant smoking. Hello, Mr. Wang. My surname is Lu, from Yunming Investment Company, Limited. There was a 2-second pause on the line. I don't know you. What do you want? I'd like to discuss Wan Jiafu with you. Another pause, longer this time. Lu Ming could even hear the sound of someone drawing deep on a cigarette. Where did you get my number? A mutual acquaintance. Who? That's not important. Lu Ming leaned against the window frame. Mr. Wang, I'm aware of Wan Jiafu's current situation. Half the dining outlets on the 3rd floor are closed, vacancy rates on the 2nd floor exceed 30%, and supermarket suppliers queue up daily to demand payment. Your real estate project in the city has also run into trouble. A creak echoed over the phone, as if Wang Dafa had abruptly sat upright in his chair. Who exactly are you? His tone sharpened. Someone bringing you capital. Silence stretched out on both ends of the line after those words. After roughly 5 or 6 seconds, Wang Dafa spoke again. His tone shifted from guarded to weary, tentative. You said you're from an investment company? Yunming Investment, newly registered. I purchased the New Town commercial building 3 days ago with a 2 million yuan lump sum payment. If you doubt me, you can verify the records at the Housing Administration Bureau. Another lengthy silence followed. Lu Ming did not rush him. He had all the patience in the world. Half a minute later, Wang Dafa's voice came through once more. You're looking to invest in my business, or? Lu Ming spoke plainly. Mr. Wang, I want to acquire Wan Jiafu. A long sigh came from the other end of the phone. Very well. Tell me how you want to proceed. Let's meet to talk. You choose the time and location. Tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock, Qingfeng Tea House on Tea House Street in the Old Town District. Understood. It was exactly midnight. Lu Ming lay on the bed, staring at his phone screen. The system panel popped up with golden text right on schedule. Daily disbursement. 60,024,700 yuan has been credited to your account. Account balance. 300,173,500 yuan. 300 million. He rolled over and tossed the phone beside his pillow. 300 million sat in his bank card. Over the past few days, he had spent more than 22 million yuan, and everything left was just numbers on a screen. Money left idle in the bank wasted value day by day. He could not fall asleep. Sitting up, he opened his memo and typed out every piece of information about Wangjiafu he had gathered during the day. Wangjiafu Shopping Plaza, occupying roughly 4 mu of land, with a construction area of around 6,000 square meters across 3 floors. Completed and opened for business 5 years ago, with a total initial investment of approximately 55 million yuan. Current operating status. The supermarket on the first floor barely stays afloat. Vacant storefronts account for over 30% on the second floor apparel zone, and nearly half of the catering and entertainment venues on the third floor have shut down. The mall owes payments to suppliers and staff wages. Its owner Wang Dafa has another unfinished real estate project, and the full extent of his personal debts remains unclear. At the bottom of the note, Lu Ming typed a line, estimated bottom price, 12 million to 15 million yuan. This figure was no random guess. The total investment stood at 55 million yuan 5 years prior. After 5 years of depreciation, the book net value of the commercial property was roughly over 30 million yuan. But book value existed only on paper. Reality told a different story. Wangjiafu was a bleeding target. Every extra day it stayed open brought more losses. If Wang Dafa truly needed urgent funds to fill financial holes, he could not afford to wait for 30 million yuan, nor would he find anyone willing to pay such a price to take over. Yinming County was not Shanghai. Very few local investors had the capital to acquire a commercial asset of this scale, and none of those investors would be foolish enough to step in at this moment. At 2:40 the next afternoon, Lu Ming drove to the Old Town District. Tea House Street was an alley north of Central Road, paved with bluestone slabs, lined with renovated antique-style buildings. Despite its name, there were only 4 tea houses on the street, flanked by 2 mahjong parlors and a small shop selling mugwort foot soaks. King Fengju sat at the very end of the alley, a 2-story building with a half-open wooden door and a bamboo curtain hanging at the entrance. Lu Ming lifted the curtain and stepped inside, greeted by the rich, aged aroma of ripe pu'er tea. The main hall on the first floor held several sets of mahogany tables and chairs, with only 2 tables occupied. 2 elderly men played chess at the table against the wall, enamel mugs resting beside the chessboard. The table by the window stood empty, fully set with tea utensils. "Mr. Lu," a voice came from the staircase. Lu Ming looked up. A man stood on the stairs. He was in his early 50s, not tall, around 168 centimeters, but with broad shoulders. He wore a dark gray linen shirt left untucked, hanging loosely around his frame. Flesh sagged slightly on his face, and heavy dark bags hung beneath his eyes, as if he had not slept properly for nights on end. Yet his gaze remained sharp, assessing others with shrewdness. This was a man who once commanded great presence. Recent troubles had worn most of that aura away. "Mr. Wang." Lu Ming walked toward the stairs and extended his hand. Wang Dafa shook hands with him briefly. "Let's talk upstairs." The second floor housed private rooms. He pushed open a door. A pot of brewed tea sat ready on an octagonal table. The 2 men took their seats. Wang Dafa poured the tea with a steady hand. He first filled a cup for Lu Ming, then his own, lifting it to take a slow sip. "You look quite young." Wang Dafa broke the silence. 25. 25. Wang Dafa repeated the number and picked up a cigarette pack. Soft Zhonghua cigarettes. The pack was crumpled out of shape, holding only 2 cigarettes left inside. He pulled one out and lit it, offering the other to Lu Ming. "No thank you, I don't smoke, Mr. Wang." Wang Dafa took a drag, smoke drifting out through his nostrils. 25 years old. You own a building, run a company, and now you want to buy my shopping mall. Who's your father? Mr. Wang. A hero does not need to boast of his origins. Wang Dafa stared at him for 3 seconds and dropped the line of questioning. After 20 years in business, he had met countless people unwilling to reveal their backgrounds. Where the money came from mattered far less than whether the money was real. "You've inspected Wangjiafu?" "I have." "What's your impression?" Lu Ming picked up his teacup and took his time before answering. The tea was excellent, rich on the palate with a pleasant lingering sweetness. He set the cup down. "I'll speak plainly, Mr. Wang. Wangjiafu is like a pool leaking water every single day. Half the merchants on the third floor have left, I estimate vacancy rates exceed 30% on the second floor, and suppliers for the first-floor supermarket are pressing for overdue payments. Your cleaning staff haven't received salaries for 3 months. Wang Dafa's facial muscles twitched. You've done thorough research. I invested some time into it. Wang Dafa stubbed his cigarette out in the ashtray and leaned forward across the table. Mr. Liu, if you've investigated properly, you should know that the land for Wang Jiafu alone cost 12 million yuan in land transfer fees back then. Over 30 million more went into constructing the 3-story building and renovations. Adding equipment, shelves, cold storage systems, the total investment hit 55 million yuan. I'm aware of that. 55 million worth of assets. How much are you prepared to offer? Lu Ming did not give a quote immediately. Mr. Wang, 55 million yuan was 5 years ago. Commercial property is not gold. It does not hold its value. I've seen your cold storage setup. 2 refrigeration units are already out of service. Cracks run along the glass partitions on the second floor with no repairs underway. The children's play zone on the 3rd floor is coated in dust. I suspect its last disinfection was last year. Wang Dafa pressed his lips into a tight line. These are only superficial issues, he said in a low tone. The location speaks for itself. It sits in the core of the New Town district. You won't find another commercial plot of this caliber anywhere else in Yunming County. I acknowledge the value of the location. Lu Ming nodded. But land value depends on whether the buildings on it can generate returns. Wang Jiafu generates no profit right now. It only consumes resources. What are your monthly operating costs? Property management fees, water and electricity bills, staff wages, plus interest on money owed to suppliers. You're pouring out at least 200,000 yuan every month. How much longer can you sustain that? His words struck home. Wang Dafa stood and walked over to the window, pushing open the wooden sash. Wind swept in from the alley, scattering the smoke curling above the table. He stood with his back to Lu Ming for half a minute. Give me your figure, he said quietly. 15 million yuan. Wang Dafa turned around. A complicated expression crossed his face. 15 million? You want to take something I poured over 50 million into for 15 million? Mr. Wang, let me be honest. Lu Ming kept his tone steady. If you don't sell to me now, what other plans do you have? Keep operating at a loss. Hold on until suppliers unite to file lawsuits and the court seals the premises? Or wait until employees report unpaid wages to the Labor Bureau and the scandal hits local news? Wang Dafa returned to the table and sat down, picking up his last cigarette and lighting it. 20 million, he exhaled smoke. No deal below that number. Hearing this offer, Lu Ming grew confident. 15 million had only been a test. If Wang Dafa thought the price was absurd and refused to negotiate outright, there would be no room to move. The fact that he countered meant he could accept 15 million deep down. With that thought, Lu Ming shook his head. Wang Dafa gritted his teeth. 19 million. 15 million. Lu Ming met his gaze. Mr. Wang, this is not a market stall. Haggling back and forth achieves nothing. 15 million was undeniably a low offer. But Lu Ming was betting Wang Dafa had run out of options. Mr. Wang, if I'm not mistaken, I'm the first person who has come to negotiate this purchase after all this time. Am I not? Wang Dafa said nothing. Lu Ming continued. The reason no one else has approached you is obvious. From a business perspective, no one takes on deals that lose money. Across Yunming County, I am the only buyer capable of taking this property off your hands. Wang Dafa remained silent. Lu Ming stopped talking. He drained the remaining tea in his cup, stood up, and adjusted his jacket. He said calmly, It seems you haven't reached the point of desperation yet. I apologize for wasting your time. Since we cannot reach an agreement, we shall not take up more of each other's day. Without the slightest hesitation, he walked toward the staircase. Just as his hand was about to touch the bamboo curtain, Wang Dafa's hoarse voice called out from behind him, Wait. Lu Ming rested his hand on the cool bamboo curtain. He counted 2 seconds before slowly letting go and turning back. Wang Dafa remained seated. The cigarette clamped between his fingers burned close to the filter. A long column of ash teetering unsteadily. He stared down at the teacup on the table, as if gazing at a past he could never recover. Sit down. Wang Dafa's tone shifted, stripped of all bargaining fervor. Lu Ming walked back and took his seat. Wang Dafa crushed the cigarette, but hard into the ashtray. The container was already overflowing. Several discarded but slid onto the tabletop. 16 million. Can we agree on that? Wang Dafa lifted his head and looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming shook his head. Young man, are you really hung up on a mere million? You bought an entire building without bargaining. Lu Ming smiled. Mr. Wang, that building was a separate transaction. We are discussing Wang Jiafa now. Given its current condition, 15 million is its fair value. Wang Dafa stayed quiet for more than 10 seconds. Very well. 15 million then. Lu Ming nodded. There was no handshake, no celebratory gestures, none of the dramatic scenes seen in television dramas. A transaction worth 15 million yuan was settled over a pot of tea and 2 cigarettes. I will engage a lawyer to draft the contract and bring it to you for review tomorrow, Lu Ming said. There's no need to wait until tomorrow. Wang Dafa turned, picked up an old briefcase resting on the windowsill. The zipper jammed. He tugged it hard to open it and pulled out a stack of documents. Wang Jiafu's property ownership certificate, land use permit, equipment inventory, and registered tenant contracts. He laid the papers out one by one on the table. I brought all of these with me before coming here. Lu Ming glanced over the documents, then looked at Wang Dafa. Even as he claimed he would not accept offers below 20 million, he had carried all the paperwork required for the transfer. He had been ready to sell from the very start. Will you arrange legal counsel, or shall I? Lu Ming asked. There's only one reliable law firm in the county, Zhengxin Law Firm on Central Road. The lead attorney is Fong. Seek him out. Tell him I, Wang Dafa, sent you, and he will know how to draw up the paperwork. Understood. Lu Ming held out his hand. This time Wang Dafa shook it. His grip was tight, as if bidding farewell to a part of his life. Mr. Lu. Wang Dafa released his hand and poured himself another cup of tea. Stay a moment. I have some honest words to share. Lu Ming sat back down. On the opening day of Wanjiafu, Wang Dafa's gaze drifted far away. Firecrackers went off from one end of the street to the other. Red paper littered Yingbin Road. County leaders all attended, and the county magistrate cut the ribbon in person. It was a spectacular sight. I was on top of the world. He paused. Back then I thought I was invincible. I started out hauling bricks at construction sites. After 20 years of hard work, I built the county's largest shopping mall. Wherever I went, people called me Mr. Wang, scrambling to pick up the tab for every meal. Lu Ming did not interrupt. But do you know how these past 5 years have been for me? Wang Dafa's voice lowered. The first year after opening, we did turn a profit. But before I could enjoy the earnings, officials from various departments started coming around. The fire department conducted inspections, claiming the sprinkler system failed to meet standards and demanded renovations. Renovations were permitted only if I hired their designated contractors, whose quotes were double the market rate. If I hired other workers, inspectors would return regularly with closure notices. The Environmental Bureau arrived next, alleging excessive cooking fume emissions in the mall. I spent 600,000 yuan hiring a provincial firm to install ventilation ducts for the third-floor restaurants. The system fully complied with regulations. Yet officials refused to recognize my test reports, insisting testing had to be carried out by institutions they approved. The testing fee ran 80,000 yuan. After paying, new inspectors returned months later, once again claiming emissions were non-compliant. The Urban Management Bureau cited my outdoor billboard for exceeding planning boundaries. I had obtained official planning approval for that billboard when I purchased the land, but they presented updated administrative regulations for advertising in the district. To keep the sign, I needed to pay an annual 30,000 yuan roadside occupancy fee. The Tax Bureau launched audits. After reviewing records, they labeled several expense claims irregular and issued fines. Half a year later, they returned, stating my previous rectification plans violated new rules and imposed further penalties. Wang Dafa fell silent and reached for the teapot, discovering it was empty. The worst incident happened in the third year. I secured land in the city to develop residential housing. An official from one county department approached me and said I could pursue outside projects, but I could not forget local obligations. He demanded a 500,000 yuan donation to fund events within their department. I refused. And then, Lu Ming asked, then the renewal of Wanjiafu's fire safety certificate stalled for 4 months. For 4 months, the mall operated without valid certification. Technically, we should have been forced to shut down. Every single day, I lived in fear of accidents, which would have brought far worse consequences than financial losses. In the end, I paid up, Wang Dafa said dejectedly. Not 500,000. We negotiated it down to 300,000. The certificate was approved the day after I transferred the money. Quiet filled the private room for a long time. Mr. Lu, I'm not telling you all this to seek sympathy. Wang Dafa stood and zipped up his briefcase. I'm warning you. You have money, you are young, and you might believe you can change this county. I once thought exactly the same thing. But county towns are nothing like Shanghai. Even at its worst, Shanghai operates on established rules and standard procedures. Here, rules depend on people, and procedures hinge on personal connections. If you fail to navigate local interpersonal dynamics, you can pour money into projects and hear nothing in return. Lu Ming watched him. Thank you for the advice, Mr. Wang. Don't thank me. Wang Dafa tucked the briefcase under his arm and paused at the doorway without turning around. Will you keep the name Wang Jiafu? I plan to change it. What will you rename it? I haven't decided yet. Wang Dafa nodded, lifted the bamboo curtain, and stepped outside. Footsteps echoed down the wooden staircase, fading into the distance. Lu Ming remained seated. He replayed Wang Dafa's words in his mind. Fire safety, environmental protection, urban management, taxation. Every department represented a barrier, and behind every barrier stood individual people. When he worked in new media operations before, he believed difficult clients were the most demanding group imaginable. Now he realized those clients were mild in comparison. He was already gaining first-hand experience of the local business environment in this county. When he purchased new town building, before he finalized business plans, the Finance Bureau demanded 30% of all profits. Officially framed as support for county development, the attached terms amounted to predatory demands. His thoughts were interrupted by an incoming call from Zhou Yan. Lu Ming answered. Zhou Yan's voice sounded highly excited on the line. Mr. Lu, I've reported your proposal to the director. Regarding the conversion of industrial land for commercial use, the director agreed to treat it as a key project and fast-track the approval where possible. Challenges still remain, but everything is for the county's development. With joint efforts, your shopping center will be constructed before long. Lu Ming smiled. Section Chief Zhou, I've changed my plans. Pardon, I have other plans for that plot of land. Zhengxin Law Firm sat on the eastern stretch of Central Road, sandwiched between a print shop and a wholesale liquor store. The storefront was modest, with 2 glass entrance doors. A bronze plaque hung on the left door, its characters tarnished with green oxidation. Lu Ming pushed the door open and walked inside. A young newly graduated receptionist with a round face and thick-rimmed glasses sat at the front desk, adjusting formatting on a contract on her computer. She looked up at the sound of the door. Hello, are you seeking consultation or legal representation? Representation. I'm looking for Attorney Fong. Attorney Fong is on a call. Please wait a moment, I'll get you a glass of water. The girl brought over a cup of warm water in a paper cup with rough, uneven edges. Lu Ming did not drink it. He scanned the layout of the firm. The reception area spanned roughly 30 square meters, furnished with 2 sets of visitor sofas. Yellowed copies of Law and Life magazines piled on the coffee table, seemingly left untouched for at least a year. Several silk commendation banners hung on the wall, submitted by private individuals and enterprises. The most recent one dated back 2 years. 3 offices lay further inside. The innermost door stood ajar, and a woman's voice drifted out. Terminating the contract requires fundamental breach from the opposing party. Your unilateral notice lacks supporting evidence, and the other side can file a counterclaim. 2 minutes later, the office door opened. Fong Yu stepped out. In her mid-30s, slender, wearing a sharply tailored black sheath dress with her hair tied neatly up, revealing a slim neck. Her makeup was subtle, barely noticeable, with carefully shaped eyebrows and muted bean paste lipstick. A Longines watch rested on her left wrist. It was not an extravagant luxury timepiece, yet it suited her perfectly. She stood out sharply against the aging, shabby law office. She spotted the young man in his 20s seated on the sofa and paused for a moment. Attorney Fong. My surname is Lu. Wang Dafa sent me. Fong Yu showed no visible reaction upon hearing Wang Dafa's name. She stepped aside. Let's talk inside. The office was compact, dominated by a large solid wood desk. Documents were stacked neatly on the surface, and pens were sorted by color inside a pen holder. Legal books filled the bookshelf against the wall. Several volumes were worn thin, with faded lettering on the spines. 2 framed photographs sat on the top shelf. Lu Ming glanced at them, one taken outside a courthouse, the other at a bar association event. Fong Yu stood among the crowd with a restrained smile. Please take a seat. Fong Yu sat behind her desk and opened her laptop. Slender fingers tapped the keyboard to pull up a blank document. Dafa called me earlier. He said you intend to acquire Wanjiafu and asked me to draft the purchase contract. That's correct. Have you settled on the acquisition price? 15 million yuan. Fong Yu's typing paused. She lifted her eyes and looked at Lu Ming. Full lump sum payment. Full payment. Fong Yu asked no further questions regarding the price and resumed typing. Let's confirm the scope of assets. She switched to a formal professional tone. The real estate belonging to Wanjiafu Shopping Plaza, including the building above ground and land use rights. Is that correct? Yes. We also include all fixed assets within the mall, shelves, cold storage equipment, fire protection systems, elevators, central air conditioning. All relevant facilities are covered in the deal. What about the brand? Are you going to keep the Wanjiafu trademark? No. I plan to change the name. Fang Yu nodded and continued typing. What about staff? What will happen to the current employees? Lu Ming thought for a moment. We will take all of them on first and sign new employment contracts. Adjustments can be made later based on actual needs. Fang Yu finished typing that line, paused, and folded her hands in front of the keyboard. Mr. Liu, I'd like to ask one more question. Go ahead. Have you looked into Wang Jiafu's outstanding debts? Lu Ming raised an eyebrow slightly. Fang Yu pulled a craft paper folder out of her drawer and opened it to reveal a stack of printed documents. I've worked with Wang Dafa for 5 years. I drafted the shop lease template when Wang Jiafu first opened. Later, when he embarked on real estate projects, he also retained me as his legal counsel. She pushed the folder to the middle of the table. I'm not breaching client confidentiality here, but you need to know these details. Otherwise, once you sign this contract, you won't be acquiring a shopping mall, you'll be taking over a powder keg. Lu Ming picked up the folder and flipped it open. The first page was a court filing notice. The plaintiff was a supplier named Hueda Food. The case centered on a sales contract dispute with a claim amount of 1.2 million yuan, filed 1 month prior. The second page held a copy of another complaint. The plaintiff this time was Xin Yuan Daily Chemicals, claiming 870,000 yuan. The third page, the fourth, the fifth, Lu Ming turned the pages one after another. 7 civil complaints, 2 arbitration applications, and 1 labor supervision complaint. The total sum exceeded 6 million yuan. Lu Ming closed the folder. These are all cases that have been formally filed. Fang Yu's voice remained steady. There are additional outstanding debts that haven't reached legal proceedings yet. From what I know, those amount to at least another 3 to 4 million yuan. All told, Wang Jiafu carries roughly 10 million yuan in external liabilities. Silence settled over the room for several seconds. Your 15 million yuan purchase price minus 10 million yuan in debts means only 5 million will actually end up in Wang Dafa's pocket. Fang Yu looked straight at Lu Ming. He's selling to you at this price not because you negotiated him down hard, but because he only needs those 5 million to plug another financial hole. Lu Ming set the folder back on the desk. Do these liabilities stay with the assets or with the individual? If you carry out an equity acquisition, the debts transfer along with the company and become your responsibility. If you opt for an asset acquisition, you only purchase specified assets without taking over the company itself. All liabilities remain with Wang Dafa's original company and will have nothing to do with you. Asset acquisition it is. We will need to add a liability exemption clause to the contract. It must clearly state that the acquisition covers only designated assets, Fang Yu explained, and that you will not assume any of the original company's creditors' rights or liabilities. We will also require Wang Dafa to issue a commitment letter guaranteeing the transferred assets are free from mortgages, pledges, seizure orders, or other encumbrances. After finishing, Fang Yu resumed typing. Lu Ming leaned back in his chair and watched her. Light from the computer screen fell across Fang Yu's profile, outlining sharp, distinct facial features. As she typed, her brows drew slightly together and her lips pressed gently together. Her full attention was fixed on the contract terms. After 10 minutes of typing, Fang Yu rotated the screen toward Lu Ming. This is the first draft. Please review it, and pay close attention to clauses 4, 7, and 12. Lu Ming leaned forward to read. The contract contained 16 densely worded clauses arranged with clear logic. Clause 4 covered the asset list and transfer procedures. Clause 7 outlined payment terms and timelines. Clause 12 stipulated liability for breach of contract. He read through every provision before pointing to Clause 7. I will split payment into 2 installments. 10 million on the day the contract is signed, and the remaining 5 million once ownership transfer is completed. Fang Yu nodded and amended the figures. One more thing. Lu Ming gestured toward a detail in Clause 12. The liquidated damages are set at 10% of the total contract value. That's too low. Change it to 30%. Fang Yu tapped a few keys to make the revision and lifted her head. Have you studied law? No, but I can read and understand contracts. From this brief exchange, Lu Ming could tell Fang Yu was highly professional and conscientious. Lawyer Fang. Lu Ming stood up. Can the final version of the contract be ready today? You will receive it before 6 o'clock. Good. Also, do you have many other major clients at the moment? Fang Yu blinked in surprise. Why do you ask? My company needs a permanent legal counsel. If you have the bandwidth, please provide a quotation. Fang Yu leaned back in her chair and tapped her fingers lightly against the desktop twice. A permanent legal counsel? Yes. My company will have substantial upcoming legal work covering mergers and acquisitions, labor relations, and infrastructure projects. We need a reliable lawyer for long-term support. Fang Yu did not give an immediate reply. She picked up a fountain pen from her desk, twisting the cap on and off repeatedly twice. Mr. Liu, I'll be frank with you. Go ahead. I have practiced law in Yunming County for 8 years. Over those 8 years, I have served fewer than 20 corporate clients. Most of those cases involved debt disputes and labor conflicts. Only 2 engagements qualified as ongoing legal counsel work. One was Wang Dafa's Wanjiafu, and the other was the county water supply company. She placed the pen back into the pen holder. The reason is simple. Businesses in Yunming County are small scale, and most business owners have limited legal awareness. They see retaining lawyers as a waste of money and only seek legal help once trouble arises. 70% of my firm's caseload consists of civil litigation, 20% family law matters, and only the remaining 10% covers commercial legal services. Lu Ming caught the underlying message. So what you're saying is you have the capacity to take us on. Fang Yu gave a slight nod in acknowledgement. What I mean is that you need to be clear. Do you want a counsel who merely stamps documents? Or a genuine legal partner who actively helps you resolve problems? The latter. Then I will quote fees appropriate for that level of partnership. Fang Yu said, the annual retainer for permanent legal counsel services is 120,000 yuan. Additional fees apply for contract reviews, legal opinions, and litigation representation. For major projects requiring on-site support, I charge 2,000 yuan per day. Agreed. This time Fang Yu was genuinely stunned. You won't negotiate the price. Lawyer Fang, I never haggle when someone is worth what they charge. Fang Yu fell silent for 2 seconds. I will send the contract to your inbox before 6 o'clock. I will also draft the counsel agreement at the same time to save you an extra trip. Very well. Lu Ming stood to leave. As he reached the doorway, he suddenly asked, Lawyer Fang, where are you from? Yunming County. Have you lived here the whole time? Fang Yu paused her typing. Not exactly. I graduated from Zhengzhou University Law School and worked at a law firm in Zhengzhou for 3 years before moving back. Why did you come back? Fang Yu did not answer. She lowered her gaze again and rested her fingers on the keyboard. Check your inbox before 6. Lu Ming did not press the question further and stepped outside. Harsh bright sunlight flooded the street. Several electric tricycles parked along Central Road, and a woman selling cold noodles spooned chili oil into plastic bowls. Lu Ming got into his car and messaged Lu Yuan. Attend a meeting at New City Building at 6. He sent the same message to Shunli. While driving back to the office building, he mentally sorted through his fledgling team. Lu Yuan, Finance. Shunli, Human Resources and Administration. Fang Yu, Legal Counsel. Add himself, and that made 4 people total. A company registered with 100 million yuan in capital, staffed by only 4 individuals, 2 hired only today, and 1 retained as external counsel. A makeshift team. But even a makeshift troupe needed to be assembled first before the show could begin. When he returned to the building, more changes were visible in the lobby compared to that morning. Shunli had somehow sourced a vertical water dispenser. Placed beside the reception desk, it was already fitted with a water jug. A stack of A4 paper sat on the reception counter printed with the name and logo of Yunming Investment Company, Limited. A simple cloud graphic above a line of smaller text, rooted in Yunming, investing in the future. Lu Ming glanced at the logo. Did you design this? Shunli poked her head out from the second floor. I made a simple draft using design software as a temporary placeholder. We can commission professional revisions later. It will work for now. Lu Ming kept busy through the afternoon. In the room designated as the general manager's office on the second floor, he organized all documentation related to Wang Jiafu. He photographed and archived every document Wang Dafa had left behind. This included property ownership certificates, equipment inventories, and tenant contracts. He also pulled commercial real estate acquisition case reports online for comparison against Wang Jiafu's situation. At 4:30, 2 documents arrived in his email inbox from Fang Yu. One was the asset acquisition contract for Wang Jiafu, and the other the permanent legal counsel retention agreement. He opened the acquisition contract and read it cover to cover. Fang Yu's work was impeccably thorough. 16 main clauses plus 4 appendices. Every potential loophole was sealed tight. Clause 4's asset inventory broke down every item from Wang Dafa's original equipment list, listing brand, model, quantity, and depreciated assessed value one by one. Pursuant to Lu Ming's request, Clause 12 was revised. Liquidated damages were changed to 30%. An extra provision had also been added of her own accord. Should the seller conceal defects affecting the assets, the buyer reserves the right to demand double repayment of all sums already paid. This term had not been discussed beforehand. Fang Yu had included it voluntarily. 6 o'clock. First floor lobby. 3 folding chairs arranged in a semicircle around the reception desk. On a small table beside the water dispenser sat 3 cups of water. Alongside was a bag of discounted egg cakes Lu Yuan had bought from Wang Jiafu. Lu Yuan sat on the left with an open notebook and a pen tucked behind her ear. Shunli sat on the right, her phone locked and hands resting neatly on her lap with upright posture. Lu Ming stood behind the reception counter. Behind him stood a glass vase with several sprigs of wild flowers. Everyone is here. He opened the meeting. Let me quickly go over several matters. First, the Wang Jiafu acquisition contract is finalized. We will sign with Wang Dafa tomorrow. 10 million yuan as the initial payment, with the 5 million balance due after ownership transfer completes. Lu Yuan, disperse the funds from the corporate account. Lu Yuan nodded and jotted down notes rapidly. Second, extensive renovations will commence once we take over Wang Jiafu. Shunli, starting tomorrow, research staffing requirements. The supermarket operation will need at minimum 1 store manager, 3 department supervisors, and 30 frontline staff. Survey the local labor market to gauge recruitment capacity. Shunli responded. What salary range should we set? Starting pay of 5,000 yuan for frontline staff, over 30% higher than the county average. 7,000 yuan for supervisors, salary negotiable for store manager. Shunli typed quickly into her phone memo without lifting her head. What recruitment channels should we use? Platforms like Boss Jipin and Lipin have very few active local users in this county. We will rely on grassroots methods. Lu Ming said. Hang recruitment banners outside Wang Jiafu, run targeted advertisements on Douyin's local feed, and share hiring notices in WeChat groups across all surrounding townships. Recruitment in small counties rarely relies on formal platforms. It runs on word of mouth. Once we hire the first batch of staff, they will refer relatives and friends. Shunli looked up at him and nodded. The third item, and the most important one. Lu Ming turned toward Shunli. For the Wang Jiafu renovation, I want you to source a qualified design team to conduct site surveys, produce drawings, and oversee construction. There is only one benchmark, Pandanglai. Our space experience, service details, and overall quality must surpass it across all areas. What is the budget? Shunli asked. There is no set budget. Pardon, Shunli thought she had misheard. I mean there will be no upper spending limit for this project. At midnight sharp, his phone lit up and the system panel popped up. Daily disbursement received, 60,024,700 yuan. Account balance, 360,198,200 yuan. He set the phone face down on the nightstand, rolled over, and closed his eyes. After signing the Wang Jiafu contract tomorrow, another 10 million would leave his account. Yet compared to the daily inflow of 60 million yuan, this expense was negligible. The real challenge was not how much to spend, but how to allocate capital meaningfully. 9:30 the following morning. Second floor of New City Commercial Building. Shunli arrived early and tidied the conference room into presentable condition. She wiped the long conference table 3 times and carried 6 chairs up from the storage room in the basement. Mineral water bottles lined the table, with a printed copy of the contract placed at every seat. She also brought a potted green ivy to set at the table corner. Lu Yuan glanced at the plant. Li Jia, where did you get this? Shunli smiled. I brought it from home. 9:45. Fang Yu arrived first. She wore a wool overcoat today over a deep navy suit, with a small silver brooch pinned to her collar. Carrying a briefcase, she scanned the conference room layout upon entering, gave a slight nod, and said nothing before taking the chair by the window on one side of the long table. She opened her briefcase and took out 3 bound original copies of the contract. Alongside were 2 appendices and 1 commitment letter, stacked neatly in front of her. 10 o'clock exactly. The sound of an engine cutting out echoed from downstairs. Lu Ming glanced out the window to see a dusty gray Toyota Camry parked in the plaza. Wang Dafa climbed out of the vehicle. He dressed more formally than last time, wearing dark trousers with a white shirt, though the collar appeared slightly oversized and loose around his neck. Manager Lu followed behind him. Lu Ming walked downstairs to greet them. As soon as Wang Dafa stepped into the lobby, his eyes swept across the 5-meter-high ceiling space. Mr. Lu, you've done a fine job renovating this place. We're only just getting started. Lu Ming led the pair upstairs. Upon entering the conference room, Wang Dafa immediately recognized Fang Yu. Lawyer Fang. Mr. Wang. Fang Yu rose and nodded, with no superfluous pleasantries. Manager Lu pulled out a chair and sat down. He was clearly uncomfortable in such a formal setting. He perched only halfway onto the seat, unsure what to do with his hands before folding them over his abdomen. 6 people took their seats. Lu Ming and Wang Dafa sat opposite each other. Fang Yu sat to Lu Ming's right, and Lu Yuan to his left. Shenli took the seat furthest down the table to take meeting minutes. Fang Yu opened the original contract and passed one copy to Wang Dafa. Mr. Wang, the contract includes 16 clauses and 4 appendices. I can walk you through the key points. We can skip sections you have already reviewed. No need to go line by line. Wang Dafa flipped open the contract, jumped straight to the signature page, glanced back several pages, and stopped at clause 4. The asset list spanned 3 full pages. It detailed everything from cold storage compressor models to the number of restroom tissue dispensers. He paused to consider for a moment without speaking. He turned forward to clause 7, the payment terms. 10 million yuan payable on the contract's signing date. The remaining 5 million shall be transferred within 3 working days once real estate ownership transfer registration is complete. Wang Dafa closed the contract and leaned back in his chair. Lawyer Fang's work is impeccable. He glanced at Fang Yu before turning back to Lu Ming. Let's sign. Fang Yu passed over 3 signing pens. Lu Ming signed first and pressed his fingerprint. Wang Dafa took the pen. He hesitated for roughly 3 seconds before gripping it. Manager Lu leaned forward slightly to glance at the contract amount and swallowed hard. Then Wang Dafa signed. He pressed down firmly as he wrote, leaving faint indentations on the paper beneath the characters Wang Dafa. 3 original copies were prepared. Each party retained one, and Fang Yu kept the third on file. Once signatures were complete, Lu Ming pulled out his phone. Lu Yuan processed the transfer. Lu Yuan opened her laptop and initiated the payment. Recipient, Wang Dafa. Amount, 10 million yuan. She entered the password and confirmed. Ding. The SMS alert tone carried clearly to everyone in the room. Wang Dafa pulled out his mobile phone and stared at the screen for a long moment. A notification arrived. The string of zeros showing the received amount stretched across the display of his older mobile device. He slipped the phone back into his trouser pocket and let out a deep breath. Lawyer Fang, please follow up on the ownership transfer formalities. Fang Yu nodded. I have compiled the full list of required documentation, and we can launch the process tomorrow. With the signing finished, Shunli stood to gather documents from the table. Lu Yuan photographed the bank receipt for archiving and logged the transaction in the ledger. Manager Lu looked visibly relieved as he stood and stretched legs that had gone numb from sitting. Lu Ming walked Wang Dafa downstairs. As they reached the lobby, Wang Dafa suddenly halted. He glanced left and right to confirm Lu Yuan and Shunli were upstairs, and Fang Yu was still organizing documents inside the conference room. Only the 2 of them remained in the lobby. He stepped closer to Lu Ming and lowered his voice. Young Lu, I'd like to share something with you unsolicited. Please go ahead. Fang Yu is extremely professional and reliable. You should consider retaining her as your legal counsel moving forward. Lu Ming nodded. Furthermore, Wang Dafa lowered his voice even more, glancing around cautiously. Her personal connections run deeper than most realize. In what way? She is related to President Zhao of the county court. I haven't dug into the exact nature of their bond. Some say he is her great-uncle, others her uncle by marriage. One thing is certain, they have a close relationship. Think about it. She built a solid career at a provincial law firm, yet chose to settle down in this small county. There is a reason. With this connection, she can smooth out nearly any judicial matter within Yunmeng County with a single phone call. This came as an unexpected surprise to Lu Ming. Seeing Lu Ming remain quiet, Wang Dafa worried he had not grasped the full weight of his point and spoke more plainly. There's another thing. He cleared his throat with a subtle shift in expression. She is single and has never married. Though she is not young, she looks as though she is only in her 30s, and many would guess even younger thanks to how well she takes care of herself. She maintains a disciplined lifestyle, does not smoke, drink alcohol, or gamble. I have collaborated with her for 5 years and never once seen her attend meals with a male companion. She is an outstanding candidate to work alongside you. Lu Ming turned his head and frowned at Wang Dafa. Mr. Wang. Yes. Lu Ming held his gaze for 2 seconds. I retained attorney Fang as legal counsel, not a matchmaker. Wang Dafa let out a hearty chuckle, entirely unembarrassed. I was just making casual conversation, don't take it to heart. You're still young. You ought to think about your personal life alongside your career. Isn't your mother on your case about it? Lu Ming ignored him and pulled open the glass door leading to the lobby. Wang Dafa ambled over to his Camry. Before opening the car door, he twisted his head around and spoke earnestly. Xiao Lu, I'm officially stepping back from all business in Yunmeng County. From now on, the stage is yours. Lu Ming smiled and waved him off, watching the car vanish around the street corner. He turned and walked back into the meeting room. Fang Yu was filing sorted contract copies into her briefcase with neat, efficient movements. All contract matters have been settled. I'll deliver the property transfer documents to the Housing Administration Bureau tomorrow morning. Certificates should be ready in 3 to 5 working days. Thank you for your hard work. Fang Yu zipped up her briefcase and stood. She paused as she walked past him. President Liu, what were you discussing with Wang Dafo out in the hallway earlier? Nothing important. He just went over operational points for Wang Jiafu. Fang Yu shot him a glance, but asked no further questions, grabbed her bag, and headed downstairs. Shinli walked over, holding a tablet. President Liu, I've contacted 3 design teams for the Wang Jiafu renovation project. One is based in Zhengzhou, one in Wuhan, and the third in Xuchang. The Xuchang firm can come for an on-site survey the earliest. They can arrive tomorrow. The Xuchang team boasts the most impressive portfolio. They took part in designing Pengdonglai Times Square and Angel City. The Xuchang design firm was Dingyuan Space, and 3 representatives arrived. The lead designer was He Mingyuan, a man in his early 40s wearing a gray linen jacket over a black turtleneck. Half his hair had turned gray, yet he carried himself with great vigor. He brought 2 junior designers, one male and one female. The young man carried measuring equipment, while the woman dragged a suitcase stuffed with drawing tubes. The trio set off from Xuchang at 7 in the morning and drove an hour to reach Yunming County. Shenli met them at the entrance of New City Building and led them to the second-floor meeting room. She poured water for everyone and laid out fried dough sticks and spicy pepper soup bought from the breakfast shop downstairs. After sitting down, He Mingyuan did not touch the food immediately. Instead, he looked around the meeting room. A newly installed projector, an unopened whiteboard, and folding chairs still covered in factory plastic wrapping. A mixed scent of fresh paint and timber lingered all over the second floor. How long has your company been established? He Mingyuan asked. 1 week, Shunli replied. He Mingyuan nodded, offering no comment. At 8:40, Lu Ming arrived. He parked his Maybach on the plaza, finished the last steamed bun in his hand in a few bites, tossed the packaging into a bin, wiped his hands, and entered the building before heading upstairs and pushing open the meeting room door. Shunli made the introductions. President Liu, this is Director He from Dingyuan Space. He Mingyuan stood up and sized Lu Ming up. He had met countless clients before, wealthy coal owners draped in gold, suit-clad real estate developers, but he had never encountered one in his 20s. Director He, it's an honor to meet you. Lu Mingyuan wiped his hands and shook He Mingyuan's hand. Please, President Liu. He Mingyuan sat back down and folded his hands on the table. Manager Shin briefed me roughly yesterday. You plan to renovate a 6,000 square meter supermarket modeled after Pengdonglai. Not modeled after it, Lu Ming said as he took a seat. We aim to surpass it. He Mingyuan smiled faintly. President Liu, Dingyuan contributed to the design of Pengdonglai Times Square and Angel City. To speak plainly, 70% of what makes Pengdonglai unique lies in its service philosophy and management system. Design only accounts for 30%. Surpassing it solely through spatial design will not amount to much. Lu Ming leaned back in his chair. That's why I need you to perfect that 30%. I will handle the remaining 70% myself. He Mingyuan pursed his lips and nodded. Very well. Let's head to the site first. The group departed in 2 vehicles. Lu Ming's Maybach led the way, followed by He Mingyuan's van. Upon arriving at Wang Jiafu's entrance, He Mingyuan stepped out of the car, stood in the parking lot, and glanced up at the broken Wang Jiafu signboard. He said nothing and took a photo with his phone. Then he pushed open the entrance door and walked inside. He toured the layout of the first-floor supermarket. At every section, he stopped to take photographs, occasionally pulling out a portable tape measure to record aisle widths. The 2 junior designers followed behind him. One used a laser rangefinder to measure floor heights, while the other sketched layouts on a tablet. On the second floor, He Mingyuan lingered for a long time in front of the empty glass partitions. He reached out and touched the aluminium alloy frames, scraping a fingernail along the surface. All these partitions need to come down, he said without turning around. The female designer marked the note on her tablet. On the 3rd floor, He Mingyuan halted before the shuttered children's play zone. A half-centimeter layer of dust covered the ball pit, and a deflated inflatable castle slumped in the corner like a large, empty rubbish bag. He squatted down to inspect the floor load-bearing structure. Can this floor support heavy loads? Do you have the original structural blueprints? We have them. I'll send them to you later, Lu Ming answered. The full survey took nearly 2 hours. He Mingyuan toured the building 3 times from top to bottom, photographing even the widths of fire escape routes and the positions of electrical distribution boxes. Back in the meeting room at New City Building, He Mingyuan connected his tablet to the projector and pulled up the photos he had taken on site. Let me start with my conclusion. He stood in front of the projection screen. The building frame is solid. It has a frame structure, sufficient floor height, and reasonable column spacing. However, the internal spatial planning is simply a mess. He pointed to a panoramic photo of the first floor. In the supermarket area, aisles are only 1.6 meters wide. Two shopping carts cannot pass side by side without causing a blockage. Shelves stand at 2.2 meters, blocking natural light and leaving the whole space dim and oppressive. He switched to photos of the second floor. The glass partitions carve the space into tiny blocks. Each shop is less than 20 square meters, barely enough room to turn around. This layout suited wholesale markets a decade ago. It is unsuitable for modern retail. The screen shifted to the third floor. The third floor has the worst problems. The catering exhaust system is severely aged, causing fumes to backflow. There is no separation whatsoever between the children's area and the dining zone, creating major safety hazards. He Mingyuan turned off the projector and faced Lu Ming. If you only want a simple refurbishment to reopen, I can provide a quotation under 3 million. But if you intend to build what you described, something that surpasses Pengdonglai. He paused for a moment. We will need to strip the space right back to its structural bones and rebuild from the framework outwards. What is the specific proposal? Lu Ming asked. He Mingyuan grabbed a marker from the whiteboard and drew a rectangular frame divided into 3 levels. On the first floor, we will abandon the traditional supermarket format and create a premium fresh produce market combined with a community service hub. Aisle widths will be expanded to 3 meters. Fixed shelving will be replaced with movable display islands that can be rearranged regularly to maintain novelty. He drew several curved lines within the section marked for the second floor. All partitions on the second floor will be demolished to create an open brand collection zone. A central landscape promenade will run through the middle, with zones arranged by product category on both sides instead of separate shop units. He drew a large circle in the third floor section. The third floor will serve as an experience zone. Half will become a thoughtfully designed themed food street. The other half will host family entertainment and cultural spaces, book lounges, craft workshops, and a small screening room. The goal is to encourage visitors to stay for 2 extra hours. He set down the marker. The construction timeline will require 45 days. Design fees and construction supervision fees come to 1.2 million. Construction costs are separate. Work to this standard will run no lower than 8 million. The overall budget neared 10 million. Lu Yuan sat listening, growing nervous as larger and larger numbers filled her notebook. Can the construction timeline be compressed to 30 days? Lu Ming asked. He Mingyuan shook his head. I can add more construction teams and implement round. They clock double shifts, but manufacturing lead times for building materials cannot be shortened. In particular, tempered glass for the central atrium and custom display islands will take suppliers a minimum of 20 days to produce. 35 days is the absolute limit. 35 days. That works. Lu Ming stood and walked over to examine the rough sketches on the whiteboard. Design and supervision fees will be paid in full on the day the contract is signed. Construction payments will be issued according to progress milestones. President Lu, I will head back to draft the formal proposal. That will take roughly. The sooner, the better, Lu Ming said. 5 days, He Mingyuan replied. My team will work overtime. It was past 1 in the afternoon by the time they saw the Dingyuan team off. Lu Yuan bought several packed lunchboxes, and the 3 of them ate squatting by the front desk on the ground floor. Shen Li picked up a chunk of braised pork with her chopsticks and suddenly spoke. President Lu, there's something I need to tell you. When you were surveying Wan Jiafu this morning, someone came looking for you. Lu Ming chewed his food. Who was it? He didn't leave his name. A man in his 40s wearing a black jacket, driving a white Range Rover. He asked the receptionist if you were in. When I said you were out, I asked what business he had. He said it was not urgent and that he would come back another time. Did he say what he wanted to see me about? He didn't. Shen Li set down her chopsticks. Before he left, he stood on the plaza for 5 minutes and took photos of this building with his phone. Lu Ming stopped chewing. Lu Yuan looked up. A white Range Rover? Not many people in this county drive a car like that. Shen Li pulled up a photo on her phone, taken from the second floor window. A white Range Rover was parked beside the plaza, its license plate clearly visible. Lu Ming glanced at the plate number. A local registration. He stared at the photograph, his brows drawing together slightly. In Yunming County, anyone driving a vehicle of this class possessed considerable wealth or influence. There was no way he had come to take photographs on Lu Ming's territory purely by chance. After a moment of thought, he forwarded the picture to Zhou Yin. Section Chief Zhou, do you recognize this vehicle? Less than 10 seconds after sending the message, Zhou Yin called him directly. President Lu, Why would this man come looking for you?